Universitas Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Jawa Timur, also known as UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, is a public university in Indonesia, founded on the 5th of July 1995 by the veterans. Located at Jalan Rungkut Madya, Gunung Anyar, Surabaya, at in developing the quality of human resources, especially in higher education. Welcome to the campus of State Defense. In general, the education of State Defense at Universitas Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Jawa Timur is delivered continuously to the students ever since they are enrolled until they graduate. Materials are delivered in various ways, starting by introducing campus life to the freshmen, giving character building lecture based on 5 principles of the state defense outbound, state defense-based community service, and other supporting activities as facilitated at the student activity units. A few to mention: students with military training unit, nature club, scout unit, traditional martial arts unit, traditional dance unit, and sports unit. UPN Veteran Jawa Timur has transformed into several statuses, from public university under the Ministry of National Defense into a private university. On the 6th of October 2014, based on the Presidential Decree Number 122, year 2014, UPN Veteran Jawa Timur officially transformed into a public university, in accordance with its mission to become an outstanding university with the character of state defense. In 2016, UPN Veteran Jawa Timur was granted accreditation A for higher education institution. In 2018, UPN Veteran Jawa Timur was able to obtain the status of public service agency for its financial management. As in 2019, UPN Veteran Jawa Timur was able to put its name into top 40 rank as the best universities in Indonesia, nominated by the Ministry of Research, Technology, and Higher Education. UPN Veteran Jawa Timur has 7 faculties, consisting Faculty of Economics and Business, Faculty of Agriculture, Engineering, Faculty of Social and Political Science, Faculty of Architecture and Design, and Faculty of Computer Science. There are 7 fields that become priority targets in the arrangement of devices and institutional strengthening towards professionalism based on research and global competitiveness for university development. Field of Education and Teaching, Field of Research and Development to the Society, Field of Organization, Field of Finance, Field of Human Resources, Field of Facility and Infrastructure, and Field of Cooperation.
Sejalan dengan rencana strategis tahap kedua, UPN Veteran Jawa Timur sebagai PTN BLU semakin meneguhkan kembali semangat Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka yang mempunyai daya saing tinggi di tingkat nasional maupun internasional. Salam bela negara.
DLSU has been established and run by the De La Salle brothers, Fratres Scholarum Christianarum FSC. In the 21st century, FSC for us means faith, service, and communion.
Consider the programs that De La Salle University offers, programs that are holistic, meaning they form the whole person, not just your head, but your heart and your hands as well.
Well, as a proud graduate, I think DLSU continues to be one of the finest learning institutions in the country. So I've seen the school evolve its curriculum over time to be more relevant to that of industry and what's happening today. Take, for instance, the whole digital revolution that's going on. I see the school as being in the forefront of that and adjusting its subject matter, a type of students, a type of professors that they bring in to adapt to these changing times.
De La Salle University is the first university in the region to receive the ASEAN University Network Quality Mark. This quality mark certifies that De La Salle University is now a regional standard university.
The university is equipped with cutting-edge facilities. The programs are designed so that they can be responsive to the needs of the industry as well as to the community.
DLSU for me is more than just a school and more than just a place to learn. It's actually a community and a family for me.
It's really nice to be in a community where you can freely exchange your ideas with each other. And the university really supports you in the things that you love doing.
DLSU inspires me to really excel and stand out in both my academics and in sports. For me, it is my home because it molded me to becoming who I am today.
So my head says DLSU is the premier institution for Lasallian higher education in Asia. My heart says DLSU is the place that gave me all the chances to become a better person.
Our professors don't just lecture us and then we sit in class, listen. I think it's more than that. We actually go out and research. We're asked to find practical applications. We're asked to write research papers on how the things that we're learning can actually help solve some of the most pertinent issues.
When you do teaching and research at La Salle, it's more than material values that matter. Virtues matter, ethics matter, integrity matters.
DLSU culture is inclusive. A lot of students came from different aspects of life, but despite that, you wouldn't feel the division.
The biggest challenge that I faced was competing in the World Debate Championships in Turkey. We were able to really surmount the challenge was because the DLSU community was very supportive.
As a student athlete, representing DLSU in the UAP is always special for me. It feels special in a sense that as the whole Lasallian community, we commemorate one special achievement throughout the season.
But I think that in La Salle, there is a distinct debating culture, and that is basically winning with honor and making the game beautiful. And that manifests in a lot of organizations here, even in sports, even in other competitive organizations.
DLSU culture strongly represents school spirit. I'm really proud to be part of the men's basketball team because I get to showcase my talents. I get to play for the school that I really love.
DLSU offers an education that is oriented also towards service. That's why in many of the subjects that are taught in DLSU, there is such a thing as orientation towards service learning.
DLSU is committed to nurturing a community of caliber students and professionals who are not just competent in the field of academics and research, but also people who are morally upright.
And the Lasallian community, I'm sure as it is today, was a very, very solid one. It was a very social community. They already encouraged us to do a lot of civic work around the neighborhood.
Just all the various scholarships and financial assistance programs that DLSU offers, it truly manifests its efforts in reaching out to people who are in need of support and having a quality education.
It's trying to replicate the outside world within the university that best prepares us for the outside world, with the guidance, of course, of our professors and the administration. So I think the future definitely begins in La Salle.
I believe that students who graduate from De La Salle University are well-rounded individuals. They know how to strive under pressure and they can still deliver the work that they need to do.
Lasallians are globally competitive in a sense that we're able to adapt to the changing demands and needs of society. We're also able to be flexible in the different people we meet in order to be able to solve different problems and challenges we're faced with.
Here in La Salle, we are taught to be winners. Being a student here in La Salle really opened up a lot of opportunities for me.
I invite you to consider your future, but know that DLSU has been at the forefront of making sure that the best future of our student begins in our classrooms, in our laboratories, in our campus, but extends into their future and into their lives.
So the truth is, if all you really want is a good education, I would happily recommend you to any of the top 10 universities in this country. But LaSalle is about something. It's about faith, service, and communion. And if you feel like you've got something to contribute to that LaSallian mission here in the Philippines, and also if you're willing to put in a lot of hard work, then there's a future here for you, and it can begin here.
In our globalized world, advancements in technology and the conditions of the new normal have increased the complexity of life and contributed to changes in the socio-cultural landscape. Prominent among these changes is the growing diversity of multicultural societies. Inequality in the linguistic and cultural domains have become a great challenge for modern society and affect the quality of life and social well-being, especially in the post-COVID-19 world. Language and culture therefore number among the keys to the sustainable development of Thai society and ASEAN community. The Research Institute for Languages and Cultures of Asia, or RUCA, was first established in 1974. A centerpiece part of the Institute's mission was to study ethnic and minority languages in Thailand and to facilitate the government's development project through cultural and linguistic expertise. Since its foundation, the Institute has expanded the scope of its research focus to cover diverse socio-cultural groups. For more than 40 years, RUCA has been committed to cross-disciplinary research and long strive for academic excellence. In tackling inequality, in promoting cultural rights, and in addressing other linguistic and cultural issues in Thailand and ASEAN. Our vision is to be a leading research institute on languages and cultures for the development of Asia. A prominent example of RUCA's research excellence is our project on Malay-Thai bilingual education in Thailand's Deep South, carried out by the Center for Documentation and Revitalization of Endangered Languages under the leadership of Professor Emeritus Dr. Suvilai Premsirat. In 2016, the project won the UNESCO King Sejong Literacy Prize in recognition of its innovative approach to promoting literacy. The results of other research projects at RUCA have also been acknowledged by and informed the work of UNESCO, UNICEF, and Save the Children. RUCA's researchers have repeatedly received international research funding. For example,
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Our session is about to begin, so please be seated. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the 6th International Relations on Foreign Policy, or IROFONIC, with the grand theme of Community Engagement in Southeast Asian Development. The International Relations Department held this conference in partnership with Research Institute for Language and Culture of Asia, Mahidol University, Thailand, Department of Filipino Studies, College of Liberal Arts, De La Salle University, Philippines, and Faculty of Law and International Relations, University Zainal Abidin, Malaysia. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Arsita Anggraini, and I will be your Master of Ceremony in this agenda. It is an honor for me to inform you that among us here we have Honorable Vice Rector of Academics of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, Associate Professor Dr. Insinyur Sukenda, Honorable Dean of the Faculty Social and Political Sciences, UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, Associate Professor Dr. Gendut Soekarno, Honorable Vice Deans of the Faculty Social and Political Sciences, UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, Honorable Head of Departments of the Faculty Social and Political Sciences, UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, Honorable Keynote Speaker, Mr. Abdul Nababan, and expert speakers, Dr. David Michael Sanjuan, Dr. Pato, and Assistant Professor Trihandono Vibowo. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem of Indonesia and also the anthem of Universitas Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Jawa Timur, Mars Bela Negara. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Ladies and gentlemen, dear distinguished participants, before we begin our session in this morning, first of all, let's thank the Almighty God who has given us mercies and blessings so we can attend this agenda without any troubles and obstacles. We invite participants to pray according to their beliefs. Let the prayers begin. Prayer season. Ladies and gentlemen, to start off our event, please join me in inviting the head of the 6th IROFONIC committee to deliver his welcoming speech, Mr. Muhammad Indrawan Jatmika. Mr. Indrawan, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear Honorable Dean of the Faculty of Social and Political Science, UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, dear the Honorable Study Program Coordinators at the Faculty of Social and Political Science, UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, and all of the Committee of the 6th International Relations on Indonesian Foreign Policy Conference 2022. First of all, let us give thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who has bestowed His grace so that we can gather at this event in a very good condition. As the chairman of the IROFONIC 2022 committee, I would like to welcome and thank everyone who has attended this conference. I would also like to mention and thank the institution partner, including the Research Institute for Languages and Cultures of Asia, Mahidol University in Thailand, the Department of Filipino Studies at De La Salle University in the Philippines, and University Sultan Zainal Abidin in Malaysia. We hope that this collaboration will continue and result in further international academic projects that will eventually contribute to scientific progress in Southeast Asia, particularly in the domain of social and political science. Our goal in arranging this event is to emphasize the importance of local communities in Southeast Asia development initiative, whether in social, political, or economic sectors. This contribution is expected to be able to support the Southeast Asia's regional democratization process, which promotes the spirit of community involvement and development. In this conference, we will hear keynote speeches and expert speakers from academics and practitioners whose scientific studies and achievements have garnered international recognition. We will also discuss 27 papers collected from academicians from various Southeast Asian nations, such as the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand. We hope that the paper presenters and seminar attendees will receive valuable knowledge that will help them further their academic careers. Finally, we apologize for any shortcomings in the event's organization. Thank you very much and enjoy the conference. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Indrawan, for a wonderful welcoming speech. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Dean of Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Dr. Gendut Soekarno, to deliver his welcoming speech. Dr. Gendut, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, good morning. First of all, let us thank Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the Almighty, who has given His grace and guidance so that we may all come together to attend the International Conference IROFONIC 2022. Which is being organized by International Relations Study Program, Faculty of Social and Political Science, UPNVGT. Good morning. I would like to say to the Honorable Mr. Chancellor and all of the academic leaders who are present today, not to forget all the speakers who took part in this event. The quality and caliber of this year's speaker was outstanding. Welcome to our keynote speaker this morning, Mr. Abdon Nababan, also to other speaker, Dr. David Michael Sanjuan from the LSU, Professor Dr. Patu Kaswitu from Mahidol University, and Assistant Professor Priyandono Wibowo from International Relation Study Program UPNVGT. I also want to thank all of you for joining this morning, either directly in Surabaya or through Zoom. Finally, I hope that next year there will be more international partners in IROFONIC, not only from Thailand, not only the Philippines and Malaysia, but also from other areas. Thank you for the committee's work. Once again, to all present and participation, I welcome you for exchanging critical and constructive talk in this glorious IROFONIC 2022 forum. By saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I declare that IROFONIC 2022 is open. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gendut, for your warm speech. Ladies and gentlemen, to formally begin the 6th IROFONIC, please allow me to invite the Honorable Vice Rector of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur to deliver her opening speech. We would kindly invite Associate Professor Dr. Sukender to officially open our discussion today. Honorable Dr. Sukender, the stage. Yes. Okay. We will move to the next agenda. And before we start the main event, we now will entering our main session and started with our distinguished keynote speaker and followed by the expert speakers in the panel session. So please join me in inviting our moderator, Assistant Professor Firstly Cynthia, to lead our discussion. For Ms. Firstly, the time is yours. Okay, thank you, Arsita. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, who already came to the ASCON in Sari, Surabaya. Good morning also to Honorable Dean of Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Dr. Gendut Soekarno, Honorable academic officials from UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, and also to all our distinguished speakers who already joined in today's sessions. I'd like to say hi first. Selamat pagi, Mr. Abdon Nababan.
Selamat pagi.
Selamat
Good
pagi.
morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Okay, second, we already have Dr. David Michael M. Sanjuan, Magandang Umaga, Dr. Sanjuan.
Okay, magandang umaga.
Okay, next we have Dr. Patu Kasripita. Sawadika, Dr. Patu.
Sawadika, selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi. And also, last but not least, we have here in hotel, Assistant Professor Prihandono Wibowo from our own department, International Relations. Okay, also I would say good morning to distinguished participants who already joined through Zoom and also through the hotels. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. My name is Firsty Cynthia. You can call me Firsty, yeah, as first My name is Farsti. I'm a lecturer from International Relations Department of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. It gives me a great pleasure to be moderator for the 6th International Relations of Indonesian Foreign Policy Conference, IROFONIC 2022. As we know, that people and community always been the essential point for development. In today's conference, we will get a closer look into comprehensive discussions on the significance of community engagement in socio-cultural, political, economic, and policy-making issues for the betterment of Southeast Asian regions. Before the presentations begins, let me tell you how this conference will run to all the speakers and also the participants joining to Zoom. As mentioned on your book program, for keynote presentations from Mr. Abdon, we'll present the material for about 20 minutes, then we have 10 minutes for Q&A sessions. Then for expert panel, each speaker will present their material for about 30 minutes, continue with Q&A sessions for 20 minutes. Then we will move to the next expert speaker. Following that, the sessions, these discussion sessions will be ended by a conclusions approximately at 12 p.m. Jakarta time. I also have a few housekeeping notes that you can already read through the screen. First, participants are requested to turn off their microphone during these sessions. So please turn off your microphone. And then second, participants are prohibited from writing anything in the chat box except for questions to be asked to the speakers. And then the attendance list will be linked with the certificate, so please make sure that you write down the appropriate name on the attendance list, as it will be the name that will be written in the certificate. Fourth, during these sessions, the participants are able to ask the keynote and also the expert speakers in each of their Q&A sessions by using chat box feature either on Zoom or YouTube with the following format, which is name _ institutions _ your questions. I repeat, name _ institutions _ questions. And in order to have clean, neat, and well-organized discussions, I have a full right to choose and allow both speakers and participants to what time they can answer and ask. So you need to be called first before you answer and ask. And last, if you have any difficulties using English, it is okay. I will help you to translate it. So don't hesitate to ask and keep contributing along our discussions. Okay, without further ado, we come into the first presentations, part 1. We have here Mr. Abdon Nababan. First, I would like to read a brief introduction to our speakers today. First, like I have said, Mr. Abdon Nababan, who already joining us through Zoom. He is an Indonesian social activist and indigenous rights fighter. He received a Raman Maksasai Award in 2015 for his bravery and advocacy. And also, in the global arena, he has also worked for several international institutions and donors, including as a member of National Steering Committee and the Proposal Evaluations Committee at the Global Environmental Facility Small Grant Program. He is currently involved in Masyarakat Adat Nusantara Aman Group. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, now allow me to welcome Mr. Abdon Nababan to present his keynote speech of empowerment of indigenous people in Southeast Asia. So we would like to know how the empowerment of indigenous people in our regions for about 20 minutes. Mr. Abdon? Mr. Abdon?
Yes.
20 minutes. Now, Let's focus on Mr. Abdul for the next 20 minutes. The floor is yours, Mr. Abdul.
Thank you, Ibu Firsti. Greetings from Bogor, from Indonesia. Samadika for friends in Thailand. And I don't know, and I think from Malaysia also, and the Philippines, our friends, our brother and sister. So I already introduced by Ibu Firsti. I consider myself as a practitioner, not academicians like you, and I will present and share my thoughts and also my experience. Yeah, because for almost 30 years involved in indigenous movement and also in environmental movement in Indonesia, and work together with friends from all over the world. Yeah, especially with our brother and sister, indigenous brother and sister in Asia and Southeast Asia. So, Ibu Firsti, may I share my presentations, my PPT here?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Pak Abdul, silahkan.
Okay, so I will start. I think I'm really thanks the IROFONIC 2022 committee for inviting me for this very respected forum, and also of course thanks to Pak Gendut Soekarno, yeah, from UPN, from the host university, that give me a chance to deliver my keynote speech in this very important discussion. So you asked me to talk about how empowerment, indigenous peoples empowerment in Southeast Asia. Of course, the first questions before talk about how we do that, and with whom we work on this issue. First, I want to talk about who is indigenous peoples in Southeast Asia. Yeah, I think you know that indigenous peoples it's not our term. Yeah, we have our term in our language if we talk about this group of peoples. Yeah, and we know exactly that if we talk indigenous peoples, there is a difference understanding between indigenous peoples themselves, and if we compare it with the governments, and also sometimes the academia. Yeah, but for indigenous peoples, of course, if we talk indigenous peoples in Southeast Asia, yeah, we have a different terminology. In Indonesia, we use masyarakat adat, yeah, and in our constitutions, so it's clearly written as masyarakat hukum adat. And in Malaysia, Semenanjung, we are called ourselves as orang asli, but in Sabah and Sarawak as orang asal, and it's different. Yeah, some governments in Southeast Asia also call us ethnic minority, but it's different. We are indigenous peoples is not same concept with minorities. Yeah, because indigenous peoples also they call themselves and they develop their network, they develop their solidarity, yeah, because they have the common characteristics between them. Yeah, so the most important things that they have different cultures from others. Yeah, they are very attached with the land. Yeah, and they have the the sovereignty over their own land, yeah, and they still practices their own culture, yeah, and they have the same problems, but later the problem I will talk about why this movement become a global movement, international movement. This is also regional movement, also sub-regional movement, because we have the same problems we're facing every day, yeah. And because there's these differences, yeah. So Southeast Asia is one of the place, the most diverse place culturally and biologically. So we are actually differences is our wealth, and diversity is our strength as a society. That's make us different from other regions. Yeah, so we are really in the very important place in Southeast Asia, and indigenous peoples, whatever the name in each country, it's one of the most marginalized, the most discriminated after the new concept, the imported the new concept of nation state, and also of course it's also related to the new religions that came to our Southeast Asia regions. And of course, the most important from indigenous peoples is the collective rights. Yeah, this is the collective right. This collective right is really put indigenous peoples in a very special place, not only in Southeast Asia, but in all over the world. Yeah, and these collective rights already recognized by United Nations declarations on the right of indigenous peoples, which was adopted by UN General Assembly in 2007. Yeah. The UNRIP set the minimum standard for protection of collective right of indigenous peoples and provide the necessary measure to address our particular situations in rectifying the historical injustice and discriminations committed against indigenous peoples, committed against us. Yeah, so if we see that it's not only actually the UNRIP, the right, the collective right of indigenous peoples not exist because UNRIP. It exists because history. It exists because we are there. We are living with you, with all peoples, and these rights already mentions in others international human rights instruments. Yeah. So what is the most important right that already stated in the UNRIP is the first, the right to self-determination. Yeah. With this right, indigenous peoples freely determine our political status and freely pursue our economic, social, and cultural development. This is very important. Yeah. And the second, the right to land, territories, and resources, including, yeah, this is including to those traditionally held by them, but now controlled by others. So if we have our territory, our land, but then in the past we are forced to move to other place, they still consider at the indigenous people's right. And the third, right to free, prior, and informed consent. This is very and also right to development. These two rights very important right now, because most of the development projects, yeah, it's become the way to grab our land. It's the way to move us from our land. So So these two rights is very important. And the last, of course, the cultural rights. This cultural right, of course, including our right not to be subjected to assimilations or destructions of our culture. The right to practice and revitalize our culture, traditions, and customs, to teach our cultural mores, and to the repatriations of human remains. Yeah, this is also important. And the right to maintain, control, protect, and develop our cultural heritage, traditional knowledge, and traditional culture expression. So this really the main collective rights that already recognized in the international human rights instrument. And there also the important questions. If we talk about indigenous peoples in Southeast Asia, yeah, how much we talk about, how many people we talk about? But really, because as I tell you before, that Asia actually is the most populations, indigenous peoples populations, yeah, worldwide, yeah, and also most diverse, yeah. But not all states recognize indigenous peoples in their constitutions or in their national laws. Yeah. So, and until now, there is no census that put indigenous peoples as a what do you call it, as a data, yeah, to collecting in our statistics. So, but if we can see here, yeah, there is a compilations map, yeah, from IFGIA, International Work Group on Indigenous Affairs, yeah, that say that most nations, most countries in Southeast Asia, yeah, have indigenous peoples with different terminology. In Indonesia, for example, we estimated 50 to 70 millions populations, and in Malaysia 3 to 4 millions, in Philippines 12 to 15 millions, and so on. So we really, this Southeast Asia region actually is indigenous region. Yeah, if you see the maps, the compilations map. Now, but even we are indigenous peoples of this land, yeah, we are now in a situation of marginalizations, exclusions, yeah, and we still struggle to be recognized as the same as other citizens. Yeah. So at least I recorded a lot of common issues in Southeast Asia that indigenous peoples facing right now. Non-recognitions as indigenous peoples. Yeah. In Indonesia, for example, we actually recognize in our constitutions 1945. But until now, yeah, almost 75 years after independence, yeah, we don't have national law related to indigenous rights. Yeah, if we compare to Philippines, for example, Philippines at the beginning, at their independence, there is no provisions in their constitutions related to indigenous peoples. But in the people power, when Suharto and Marcos down, and they revise, they renew the constitutions, and they bring indigenous right to as a constitutional right. Only in 10 years, they have in 1997, I think, they have indigenous people's right bill. Yeah, but Indonesia not yet. Okay. Yeah, Pak. Yeah. So the second violations of the right is to land, territories, and resources. Yeah, and the third, development aggressions that I already explained. Non-recognitions of our traditional livelihood practices, for example, berladang, shifting cultivations. Yeah, they're not including it as a formal livelihood until now in Indonesia, not recorded in our statistics. Yeah, migrations and forced resettlement. This also happened in Indonesia, all over Asia, Southeast Asia. The threat and violence against indigenous human rights defenders is also related to criminalizations of the indigenous leader that protects, yeah, their rights. The impositions of protected areas, yeah, taman, we call it taman nasional here, yeah, taman hutan lindung, and so on. And also the violations of the right of indigenous women. So that's the common. And then I will talk like to Indonesia, how we deal with this so many problems, common problems. Of course, in Indonesia, in 1999, we start the national umbrella organizations, federations for indigenous peoples in 1999. And we stated in our communique that if the state does not recognize us, we do not recognize the state. So it's mean, yeah, our constitutional right already there, but there is no systems to implement that right. So we organize ourselves nationally to bring this issue to the government and also to the international community. And now we, in these organizations already, we have represents 2,494 indigenous communities across the country. Yeah, it's about 18 million individuals. And we organize us from the community and then local chapter. Now we have local chapter 120 in 21 regional and provincial chapters. And we work together.
Abdul, sorry to interrupt. You have 2 minutes left.
Okay.
So sorry. Okay.
So, in doing that, so how we empower ourselves. Yeah. The first, of course, to empower indigenous peoples to be exist, to show their self, to be visible. This is very important. And we use a lot of instruments through that. But the most important tools is mapping, community participatory mapping. Yeah, we empower our member to do their own mapping. We empower our community member to revitalize their institutions, yeah, their traditional knowledge, yeah, and also to manage their territory, yeah, sustainably. So if we see here, yeah, from our experience now, yeah, in mapping, yeah, it's clear, tell us that indigenous peoples have capacity to map their territory, to plan what they are going to do with the territory, and to manage their territory. I think we have now a lot of evidence that indigenous peoples have their own systems to make them live better in their territory. Yeah. So until now, we already have 12 millions, more than 12 millions met. Yeah. Sorry. And of course, we still continue doing advocacy at the national level, yeah, to accelerate the recognitions, legal recognitions, since Constitutional Court ruling in 2012. And also, we also advocate to include indigenous maps in One Map Indonesia. And at the local level, there is an increasing demand for the provincial and district government to provide legal basis for local regulations to recognize indigenous people's rights. Yeah. also to territory and resources. And now we're working to push the national government and parliament at the national level to adopt the draft of Indigenous Peoples' Right Bill, RUU Masyarakat Adat. This is to simplify mechanism for Indigenous peoples' recognition as a legal subject. At the international, of course, we still continue representing Indonesian indigenous peoples in international negotiations, together with our friends from other countries, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and so on. We work together at the international. We also regularly report various development in Indonesia related to legislation, regulations, policy, and programs, and especially if that programs and the policy violated the right of indigenous peoples. We use international mechanisms to bring the issue. And of course, the last, to continue involve and contribute as a part of the sub-regional in Southeast Asia, yeah, also in regional Asia and global indigenous peoples movement, and be part of a cross-sectoral social movement at the national. So really, we use this platform now to work together, yeah, with all indigenous peoples in Malaysia, Philippines, Laos, and so on. And we work together. But as a closing from me, Southeast Asia as a sub-region is one of the most culturally and biologically diverse places on Earth. And these differences is our nation's wealth. And this diversity is also our nation's strength. And indigenous people is at the heart of our diversity, culturally and biologically. So friends from IROFONIC, from university, all in Southeast Asia, let's join our struggles, indigenous people's movements, because we believe that with these indigenous people's right recognized, protected, and respected, yeah, we will have a better Southeast Asia. Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity for me to send this message.
Thank you, Mr. Abdul. That was a very comprehensive presentation. Let me give in some sort of a point to open our discussions today, our Q&A sessions with Mr. Abdul. So actually, we should know who is indigenous people. They are not minority. They are actually, why we writing indigenous people right now with capital initial letter, because it is very well framed in our international law. And also, if we know that in Southeast Asia regions, it is the most diverse and many common issues coming to ASEAN regions, such as non-recognition issues, about development aggressions, and then what I have been thinking is about migrations and community movements and kind of that, like that. And Mr. Abdul said that how to counter that, how to recognize them is by mapping them through community participatory mapping. The point is to recognize that. Okay, so we have 10 minutes for the Q&A sessions to Mr. Abdul. So everyone in this room and also in this hotel, if you have any questions to Mr. Abdul, it is open for now. We open the Q&A discussions for 10 minutes. Any questions? Okay, we have two participants here who join us in our hotel to ask directly to Mr. Abdul. Silahkan.
Okay, thanks for Ms. Moderator. And good morning to Mr. Abdul Nababan. Yeah. Good day, my name is Arif Motomo. I'm a lecturer at the Department of International Relations, Veteran Jawa Timur. First of all, I would like to begin by appreciating what you have done with Aman. So you did such a good job. So thanks for your efforts. Actually, I have a question. First of all, as far as your experience until now, do you see that as you mentioned before, ASEAN as a regional organization can play a bigger role in ensuring a better right fulfillment for the indigenous people of Southeast Asia. Given that you mentioned that ASEAN is a regional organization, and we can do a better effort through regional organization as well. As we know that indigenous people are torn between two loyalties. First of all is their national identity, and the second one is tribal or indigenous identity, which most of the time transcends national border. So, do you think that there are some aspects that we can do better in terms of ensuring that regional organizations such as ASEAN can do a better job in ensuring the rights of the indigenous people? So that's my question. Thank you. Over to you, Ms. Moderator.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bimo. So actually, Mr. Bimo asked about what can ASEAN do better to this kind of indigenous people issues that maybe transcends our border in ASEAN. What ASEAN can do better, Mr. Abdul actually?
Okay, I can answer directly now?
Can answer directly?
Okay, yes. I think, of course, yeah. I just came back from Kapuas Hulu, from the border of Malaysia and Indonesia. I visited the Dayak Iban and also the Dayak Taman. They actually, these indigenous peoples, both indigenous peoples, they have their brothers in Malaysia. Yeah, but the problem is, yeah, there is no really the discussions between the two governments related to their existence. So that's why I always try to engage with these two governments to talk about this. Yeah, to see these two countries from the cultural dimension, not only from politics and economic. Because this is also will stabilize our border, yeah, to be more secure from the two sides, yeah. So I hope that UPN, yeah, because you closely with the governments related to the defense, yeah. Let's work together with indigenous peoples to make this the brotherhood of these two countries, yeah, become more closer, yeah, through indigenous peoples. That's my because it's possible, because they are brother and sister. They have one community actually, but divided by the political border. Yeah, why don't we use cultural as a way of doing better relations between our countries, our nations in Southeast Asia. Yeah, we can do that with Papua New Guinea. We can do that with Malaysia. We can do that with the Philippines. Yeah, so I hope we can do that together.
That's actually a comprehensive answer. Are you satisfied enough, Mas Bimo? Okay, thank you. Terima kasih, Pak Abdon. Next, we have more questions, maybe? Okay, we have one here.
Selamat pagi, Pak Abdon Nababan. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, distinguished keynote speakers. Based on my overview about your presentation, which is quite interesting, let me say, we need to also highlight, we need to also respect part of our society, which is indigenous people here. Well, I think when you say that, one thing that crossed my mind is about the current issue of new capital city relocation, which sparked quite controversy in our country right now, which creates also polemic, right, in our decision makers, society.
Well, one of the relevant issue here is about the acknowledgement of indigenous land rights. And I'm pretty sure enough that Mr. Abdon maybe, reject this kind of decision, but I don't know in actual. Well, so my question is, due to the fact that this new capital city movement or relocation from Jakarta to East Kalimantan overlaps with the existing indigenous land rights or parcels. So do you agree with this? To what extent do you agree, or to what extent do you oppose this? Because at the moment, there has been 24,000 people signed online petition rejecting this kind of issue. So that's all from my question. Looking forward to your answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. But you haven't mentioned your name.
Oh, sorry. My name is Muhammad Dedi Anwar, an international relation lecturer at UPN Jawa Timur.
Okay, ini juga kolega saya, Mbak Abdon.
Okay.
So actually asking about new capital city relocations, how it is impacted to the indigenous people voices over there.
Okay, so first, from the beginning, I'm one of the persons that support to move capital city from Java. Yeah, but now the problems, how we move that our capital city. That's why I'm against because they don't really start from recognize indigenous peoples. So as I've explained in my presentations, free, prior, and informed consent is a human right right now. Yeah. So before you implement a project in one place, firstly, you have to do is to identify who own the land. And from Aman data, because we have our member there for almost 20 years, so we know exactly in this area there is an indigenous peoples called Suku Bali. But the Suku Bali, the owner of the land, yeah, the government not consult with them. They consult with other indigenous leader in other place. So, if you see the situations right now, the IKN accepted by indigenous leader from outside the IKN, but opposed or rejected by the indigenous peoples within the IKN area. So that's the controversy. And of course, Aman positions will be in our member positions because they will be the victims later for this. Yeah. So in that sense, this is not about agree or not agree to move capital city. Yeah, our positions is if we move this city, you have firstly recognize indigenous people's right and talk with them, negotiate with them how they will be what do you call it, treat as an indigenous people. Now it's not happen right now in IKN Nusantara. Yeah, it's not happen right now. So yeah, we are going to judicial review the undang-undang, the IKN law related to indigenous people's right, Pak Dedi. Yeah, soon. Yeah.
Okay, is that enough, Mas Dedi? Do you have more questions or responses? Yes, you can. We still have a time for that. Sure. Can anybody hand the microphone? Okay.
Thanks. Oh, well, thank you for the answer, Mr. Abdon. Yeah. My response is that what do you actually propose to address this kind of issue? Because at the initial answer that you say, we agree to this relocation, but then the question is how? So we're moving kind of technical difficulties here. And then the first thing that you mentioned is that we need to firstly recognize them, identify the indigenous people there. And then you said that our government has, discussed with different indigenous leaders instead of in that area. So I'm kind of puzzling here. What do you propose, Mr. Abdon, if you are part of the government consultation? How do you solve this kind of issues? Because I'm pretty sure in the next 5 or 10 years, maybe there will be kind of land issues. How they, for example, demand concessions about this. Also, we talk about environmental damage and impacts within this area. That's kind of wondering, in my mind. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Abdul.
Just short answer to that. Yeah, I think this is not well prepared. This to move this city, the capital city right now is not well prepared. Yeah, and this will create more problems in the future. Yeah, it's problem with indigenous peoples. Maybe with these projects will be later become the international issue of cultural genocide for suku Bali. Yeah, not only environment but also genocide. Yeah, so that's why we warn the governments about that. Yeah, we really warn governments about the future situations of this IKN Nusantara. Yeah, if there is no recognitions with indigenous peoples, yeah, before constructions.
I think it's clearly enough to say that the technical way to support them is at least pushing the government to make sure the future of IKN, Ibu Kota Negara, for everyone who are actually not from Indonesia, we are gonna move our capital city from Jakarta to the places like that. Okay, next we'll give another questions maybe through Zoom if any. Still have no questions through Zoom? Okay, we have one here in hotel. Mr. Abdul, you can ask directly to Mr. Abdul.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Indira. I'm also one of the lecturers in the Industrial Relations of UPN. I would like to ask some Abdul, but this is a kind of.
I'm sorry, Mbak Indira, you can move because the camera didn't capture your beautiful face.
Okay, thank you.
Still to that side.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to ask a question to Bang Abdon, but it's not the like the hardest question like Mas Dedi asked before. It's too hot for our session today. But I would like to ask. Well, Abdon said about the Southeast Asian region as one of the most culturally diverse region in the world. But living in the cities, like we did now, living in Surabaya, we are not really familiar with the concept of indigenous peoples. So my question will be, what can we do as academia, as teachers, as students? What can we do if we want to work closely with indigenous peoples? What can we do to help them in their fight or in their struggle against globalization or whatsoever, urbanization and whatsoever? So that would be my question, because you said that you are a practitioner. So I think we would really like to be able to help and work closely with practitioners in the future. So we're not like as academias, as teachers, as lecturers, we just sit on our ivory tower and then we don't contribute our knowledge to everyone around us, community. So that will be my question. Thank you, Pak Abdon.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Abdul. We can answer
Yes.
directly.
Ibu Mira ya tadi ya?
Maria.
Ibu Maria. Okay. So I think as an academia, as a lecturer, I only 4 keywords for indigenous for academia to help indigenous people. Keywords. One is access. Through research like ethnographic study, yeah, you can help to make indigenous people visible, because now it's not visible. Yeah, visibility is very important. Make them exist through your research, through your publications, that this region is diverse. Yeah, for example, you are in East Java. Yeah, you can do a research on Osing, for example. Yeah, on Osing or I think there is something to do. Yeah, this again. The second is resistance. You know, yeah, about the development operations right now everywhere. Yeah, and there is a broad resistance to that for the land grabbing. You can help with study. Yeah, we can help with what exactly going on the ground. Yeah, for resistance. And the second, the third keyword is indigenize. Yeah, how to indigenize our systems to be more friendly with local culture. Yeah, to be more really in touch with land. Yeah, because that's us. That's really our identity. We are the son of the land, Ibu Pertiwi, the son of Ibu Pertiwi. It's mean the son of the land. Yeah. And the third, our system still in a colonialistic system. So decolonize the systems. You can have a research as a political science. Yeah. Decolonize the political systems. Yeah. Because we have our own democracy. We call it deliberative democracy in our community. But now we invaded by liberal democracy, transactional liberal democracy. And it's create more problem than solutions to us. Yeah. So you can do a lot for these movements, for these struggles. Yeah. Ibu Maria, thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it is clearly enough for that, Mbak Indi. Okay, as due to the limit of the time, Mr. Abdon, your Q&A sessions is over. And before ending sessions, allow me, on behalf of the committee, to hand you the e-certificate to Mr. Abdon. Thank you so much for joining us today, to giving us such insightful and notable presentations. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdon. And right now, before we came to the next expert speakers and want to thankful Mr. Abdon for joining us, we would have a time to get a photo session first.
Okay.
Is that really okay? So everyone maybe yeah, the officials can come forward and then we take a picture together to have a photo session first. So please join us, and everyone who is on the Zoom, please turn on your camera, and we will be really happy if you can attach our virtual background. Okay, the officials. Maybe Mas, Mbak, silakan ke depan dulu untuk dokumentasi. Ini juga, Mbak, semuanya. Mbak, monggo juga. Ya, Mbak. Terserah Monggo. Yeah, Mas. And I also invite all of the International Relations Department lecturer to come forward to take a picture first. Okay, we also want to come forward. Please let me. Okay. And everyone in the Zoom, please do turn on your camera. And to Dr. Sanjuan, Dr. Patu, thank you so much. Keep smiling. Wait, we'll come forward. Maybe first we have official first, and then we can join with our online. Okay, we should use our mask because we are still under COVID-19. Okay. To everyone on the Zoom, Mas Kasif, you can come forward also to take a picture together. You can hand over to the committee. Maybe who is taller, come di belakang. Yang taller. Camera. We have Pak Catur, we have everyone here. Please turn on the camera first. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Please don't come back to your seat. We have one more sessions with the participants who can come forward. Please come forward.
Mbak Firsti, terima kasih. Thank you very much. IROFONIC.
Okay, for the officials, you can come back to the seat. Thank you. Thank you, Ibu. Okay. Okay, the committee said we can continue to our expert panel sessions. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdon.
Yeah, thank you. I'm leaving ya. Terima kasih ya.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Abdon. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, shall we continue? Of course, we have our next expert panel sessions. We have 3 expert speakers today who are joining us through Zoom. We have Dr. David Michael M. Sanjuan, already here. And also we also have Dr. Patu Kasipita, and also Assistant Professor Prihandono, who is coming through hotel right now. Okay. Now, we move to presentations part 2. Now we have Dr. David Michael M. Sanjuan. He is a writer, researcher, activist, and university professor from the Philippines. He is an associate professor at De La Salle University Filipino Studies Department, and he is the founder of the language advocacy group called Tanggol Wika. Is that right? How I pronounce it, David? Okay, which successfully led initiative to halt the implementations of government's order that abolished the study of Filipino in Philippines college and university. Ladies and gentlemen, as Dr. Sanjuan already prepared and ready to present, allow me to welcome again Dr. Sanjuan to present his expert speech entitled The Role of Language in Community Empowerment and Social Activism, a Case Study in the Philippines, for about 30 minutes, Doctor. You have 30 minutes, and now the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And good morning, everyone. Salamat pagi.
Selamat pagi, Dokter.
Like most of Southeast Asia, the Philippines suffered from centuries of colonial exploitation and oppression. But unlike in most of Southeast Asia, with the exception of Singapore, the Philippine ruling class, and by extension, the Philippine government embraced the American colonizer's tongue as its language then and now. Default pages of official websites in the Philippines are in English, just like the official website of the Office of the Philippine President, and also the website of the Department of Agrarian Reform, which is supposed to be serving farmers or peasants. So instead of using Filipino as its language, it's using English, which is not used actually by farmers or peasants. Our legislators in the House of Representatives and in the Senate also conduct debates mostly in English and file bills mostly in English too. Our courts do the same. They write their decisions in English, and our major daily newspapers are also in English. Science and mathematics are taught in English from grade 4 onwards, in junior high school, in senior high school, and also in higher education. The typical medium of instruction is English. Just like in most graduate programs, be it masteral or doctoral programs, English is the typical medium of instruction. Such pro-English stance of powerful blocs in the country ignores official statistics, which put the number of English-speaking households in the Philippines to less than 0.01% of the population, as you could see in the table presented in the PowerPoint presentation. So English is only spoken by 0.07% of the population. So that's less than 1% of the total households in the Philippines. Meanwhile, other languages, Tagalog, Cebuano, and other Philippine languages are99% of our population. Moreover, their obsession, the government's obsession with the imposition of the English language as the dominant, if not the sole medium of instruction, directly contradicts the Philippine government's language provisions, which emphasize that Filipino is the primary official language, while English is the secondary language, with a merely temporary and transitional status, which can be taken away once Filipino and other Philippine languages are intellectualized enough to become the main media of instruction in Philippine schools. Hence, what the government is doing right now in prioritizing English, they are actually doing what is opposite of the Constitution's expectations. Because the Constitution expects us to move swiftly from having English as secondary medium to a system in which Filipino and other Philippine languages would be the only medium, and English will be taught as just a subject rather than used as a medium. Meanwhile, almost 100% of Filipinos are able to speak the national language. Radio and television channels broadcast their news and programs mostly in Filipino. The most famous TV shows that we have, such as Eat Bulaga, popular soap operas, which we have exported somehow in some Southeast Asian countries, I think including Indonesia. Most of these popular soap operas are also in Filipino and other Philippine languages. And this is proof that the Filipino people are actually using their national language. Also, fast-selling tabloid newspapers like Bulgar have a bigger readership than all the English broadsheets combined. And these broadsheets are in Filipino. So for everyone's benefit, the headline reads, "Politicians and big businessmen have already received their anti-COVID-19 vaccines. That was very controversial because those were the early days of vaccination worldwide. So the politicians and the big businessmen were able to get vaccines first before the ordinary folks. I think that this happened in many countries. Filipino is thus naturally the language of the ordinary citizens, spoken in marketplaces, churches, social clubs, and in the parliaments of the streets, where social movements converge to call for sweeping socio-economic reforms, such as the redistribution of land to peasants or farmers and living wages for working families. So the streamer reads, "Magsasaka at mamamayan ipaglaban ang tunay na reforma sa lupa." This is written in Filipino. In English, this means farmers and citizens fight for genuine land reform or agrarian reform. So this is from Dakilusang Magbubukid ng Pilipinas, or the farmers movement of the Philippines. No? Or I think in Bahasa, it's the equivalent of Gerakan Petani. I hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly. No? Farmers organizations or peasants unions. The other streamer reads, "Sahod itaas, presyo ibaba." Again, written in Filipino. It's everyone's call in these times of high inflation rates. I think that we are all affected by this global phenomenon during this COVID-19 crisis. Sahod itaas, meaning there should be a wage hike. Presyo ibaba, prices must go down. Prices of goods must be reduced. The typical call of workers everywhere. And Filipino is also used whenever our citizens are calling for urgent government aid and action to accelerate the rehabilitation of war-torn areas such as the Islamic city of Marawi in Mindanao, and appeal against development aggression and land grabbing in the indigenous people's ancestral domains. So the first picture is an actual photo of a rally in Marawi City in Mindanao. No, the streamers literally says, "Anyare Marawi, what happened Marawi? May pondo ba o wala yung totoo?" This is a question thrown at the government, which means, are there available funds? What is the truth? So they are questioning why the rehabilitation of Marawi is taking too long. Meanwhile, the other picture show leaders of the Dumagat tribe in the Philippines calling for the defense of their ancestral domain against a development aggression project, which is the Laiban Dam. A big dam that will displace many Dumagats. Within this context, any change in the curriculum which would affect the Filipino language will always be a controversial issue that will warrant the attention and action of various communities and activist organizations that know the importance of a strong national language in achieving the cultural, political, social, and economic emancipation of a country that is arguably still trapped by neocolonialism. And I think that this resonates across Southeast Asia. Most of our countries in Southeast Asia are victims of neocolonialism, especially in the economic matters. Foreign investors, big transnational corporations still control huge swaths of our land, and also many of our businesses. One such educational restructuring is the country's adoption of the kindergarten to 12 years of basic education, or the K-12 system, which added 2 more years of basic education through the imposition of a 2-year senior high school prior to enrollment in higher education. While adding 2 more years on basic education, proponents of the K-12 system trimmed down or reduced the number of courses or subjects. And hence, we established Tanggol Wika, which literally means defend language, to stop such unwanted removal of subjects which are essential to our country's social cohesion and socio-political liberation. Not to mention the unity and sense of nationhood and being proud citizens with a shared culture and heritage. It was in 2013 when the Philippine Congress passed a law that imposed K-12 as the new education system. On the same year, the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, silently released a memorandum mandating the adoption of a new general education curriculum as a result of restructuring in basic education. And then it was in 2014 that we were able to get hold of a copy of such memorandum, which immediately compelled us into action. The said memorandum reduced the number of courses under the education curriculum, the new general education curriculum, from 51 to 63 units to merely 36 units. Overall, the curricular changes are bad, no? From the perspective of a formerly colonized people striving to free themselves from the shackles of past oppression and present chains of economic dependency on the first world countries. Subjects vital to critical pedagogy, such as Philippine history, where Filipino students have the chance to free their minds from what the esteemed historian Renato Constantino labeled as miseducation wrought by centuries of colonial rule, and consequently realized that learning history is imperative to synthesize the experience of the past in order to obtain a concrete vision of the future towards the total liberation of societies marginalized or oppressed. So this is a very important subject, Philippine history, and yet it was abolished under the so-called K-12 transition. Filipino, the national language, which is also the language of social movements in the country, was also abolished. Philippine literature, or what we call as panitikan in Filipino, or literatura, an obvious venue of Freirean critical pedagogy and grounded discussions on social realities and social problems, considering that Philippine literature has a strong socially conscious or social realist tradition, was also abolished. And the subject Philippine government and constitution was also obliterated. This is a very important course that emphasizes constitutional rights and duties of citizens. Hence, on June 2014, in a consultative assembly, or rather, before that, we wrote a petition letter to the Commission on Higher Education to formally ask them to include Filipino and Panitikan as mandatory subjects in the curriculum, to no avail. So that was an actual picture of me and my colleague when we visited the Commission on Higher Education in 2014. So that was 8 years ago and many pounds ago, so to speak. I'm now fatter. Hence, on June 2014, in a consultative assembly of Filipino language advocates, we decided to establish Tanggol Wika to strengthen our collective struggle against an education system which prioritizes rhetorical adherence to global competitiveness while wiping out spaces for critical pedagogy and courses that develop and nurture our collective identity as Filipinos. From that year on, 8 years now and counting, we went beyond merely advocating for curricular change. Our advocacies have slowly broadened and deepened as we reach out with communities and civil society organizations whose worldviews present a future where Filipinos will be culturally, politically, and economically free and independent from neo-colonial chains. Everyone's dreams. I'm reminded of the so-called Bandung Conference, no, led by your good President Sukarno, no, when the third world countries were still fighting against first world domination and striving to carve out an independent path, no, for third world countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Now we will revisit some pictures, statements, videos, and other materials throughout our continuing struggle for wika at bayan, or language and the people. Wika and your language is, of course, bahasa. Bayan is another term for bayan in Filipino is bangsa, bansa, which you also have, I think, as bangsa. So it's also country or bayan in the Philippines, which show the role of language in community empowerment and social activism. In this segment, I may not mention all the dates, but to save time, all actions mentioned here cover the period 2014 to 2022. At the peak of our struggle, we have conducted countless fora and assemblies in the whole country through our networks and universities. So in Luzon and some parts of Visayas, and also Mindanao. Among our regular lecturers way back then was none other than National Artist for Literature, Dr. Benvenido Lumbera, a pioneer of studies on indigenous literature, who died in 2021. By carrying on with our collective struggle, we pay homage to him and our colleagues who have died fighting the good fight. These fora and assemblies are important venues for directly explaining to citizens how our struggle is connected to every citizen's everyday struggle to have a brighter future in a supposedly independent country. We emphasize how linguistic sovereignty is linked with economic and political sovereignty, and how our national language binds us as a people and gives us a vibrant instrument to express our collective sentiments and demands for socio-economic reforms. Despite the fact that the Commission on Higher Education proved stubborn when faced with valid demands on changing the new curriculum that they have imposed without massive democratic consultation, we tirelessly engage in dialogues with them, because we all know that in a democratic country, dialogues are very important. So these are pictures of actual dialogues with them. Of course, we also had rallies, assemblies in the streets, to help pressure them. Other pictures of dialogue. So we had really countless dialogues. But when dialogues proved to be fruitless, we were compelled to file at least 2 cases before the Philippine Supreme Court. The first petition specifically wants to stop the implementation of the new curriculum that removed Filipino and literature as mandatory subjects in college. It was signed by hundreds of Filipino professors, cultural workers, legislators, and social movement leaders. The Supreme Court issued a temporary restraining order to stop the removal of Filipino and literature, at least for a few years. So we were victorious for a few years, after which they took back the order and ruled that the Commission on Higher Education have the power to set the minimum units for the general education curriculum, but the universities have the academic freedom to add Filipino and literature in the required course offerings if they want to. So we tried to appeal. So that was on the day when we filed our appeal. So many policemen were stationed there because we were also so many during that day. At the very least, we were able to persuade a number of universities, especially leading ones, such as the University of the Philippines, Diliman, the premier state university in the Philippines. De La Salle University, from where I came from, Ateneo de Manila University, University of Santo Tomas, Philippine Normal University, Polytechnic University of the Philippines, Mindanao State University, Far Eastern University, and many others. We hope to convince more and more universities to take a cue from these universities. The second petition was a product of our solidarity with other broad-based groups, such as parents, students, legislators, union leaders, social movement leaders, community leaders, who questioned the legitimacy of the whole K-12 system as a program that is meant only to mold docile workers for local exploitative companies and equally docile migrants for export under the country's now 6 decades old labor export policy. I'm sure that our Indonesian colleagues would find this as something that resonate with them, because many Indonesians are also migrants in many parts of the world. This petition did not succeed in its goal to stop the implementation of the new curriculum, but it proved prophetic in predicting that the curricular restructuring will not raise the quality of education in the country, as it would only add more backlogs to the already existing gaps in resources, personnel, and facilities in the old 10-year basic education cycle. As we have predicted in that Supreme Court case, the Philippines' resources will be overstretched if we will add 2 more years in the education system. Through social movement-backed parties in Congress, such as ACT Teachers Party List, we were able to secure the filing of a House bill that would restore the status of Filipino and literature as mandatory subjects in college. So that's a picture of me with my other colleagues in an actual session in Congress. The said bill has been refiled for the 3rd time just this week. We also tirelessly lobbied our senators for a similar bill, and after a few years of being ignored by our busy legislators during the height of the pandemic, then Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan filed a Senate bill that mirrors the House bill on mandatory Filipino and literature subjects. You might be familiar with his face because he fought well in the recently concluded elections as former Vice President and presidential candidate Leni Robredo's vice presidential running mate. So that is Kiko Pangilinan. And during the election cycle, they also promised to strengthen the teaching of Philippine history, Filipino language, and other local languages. Unfortunately, they did not win. You have, of course, heard of the results. The son of a dictator and plunderer has won in the counting, and as president, he promises to impose English as the sole, if not the main medium of instruction. It is clear that our fight will have to carry on. This is a picture of the current president partying with big businessmen, or the so-called oligarchs, who are, of course, English speakers, the so-called top 1% of our population. As a convener of Tanggol Wika, I was also chosen as a nominee of ACT Teachers Party List in the past election cycle. So in the Indonesian or Malaysian system, it's like running for becoming a member of parliament. And we made sure that our advocacies are included in the advocacies of people's electoral campaigns. We have, again, retained a seat in Congress this election cycle, proving that these advocacies really resonate to many people. Here are some of our campaign materials that are mostly written in Filipino, and these emphasize both educational and economic issues as well. So the first one talks about reviving Philippine history as a subject in high school and the restoration of Filipino and Panitikan or literature in college. The second one is a poster that advocates for free consultation with doctors and free hospitalization, because there's no 100% free healthcare in the Philippines.
Sorry to interrupt. You have 5 minutes left.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
So these are other posters during those particular campaigns. So this poster means ang tunay na tinig ng teachers, or the real voice of teachers. So we have reproduced this in many Philippine languages. We also established a sister organization, the Tanggol Kasaysayan. And we also have statements and position papers on various national issues, such as during the elections, during Independence Day, with regard to the mother tongue-based multilingual education, with regard to the controversial anti-terrorism bill, which is now anti-terrorism law, which is controversial because it allows the government to just classify any group or individual as so-called terrorists, no? Without much hearing. No? So this is a violation of human rights. Of course, we also had, we also post various instructional materials, mostly again in Filipino or translations in Filipino, like the Filipino translation of Albert Einstein's article, Why Socialism? Or the translation of an English journal article on the lessons of free healthcare from Cuba and the United Kingdom. So mostly these are inter or multidisciplinary in nature. So we also conduct regular webinars. Now we go to the concluding remarks. We envy our Southeast Asian neighbors who no longer have to fight for their linguistic rights. We take inspiration from your enthusiastic support for your national and or official local languages, which you use in government and in education. On a related note, I am also personally happy that there are now moves to propose Bahasa as the second language of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN. We know that this matter will be subject to debates, but we should be glad that the ASEAN is now moving away from the hegemony of the English language. I foresee a future in which many regional academic conferences and assemblies where we will use Southeast Asian languages as the main mode of delivery. In the meantime, I hope that Tanggol Wika's experience can also inspire people around the world who face the same problems of linguistic and social marginalization. So here are some references, and for more information, I hope that you will visit our website, tanggolwika.org. That's also my email address, david.sanjuan@dlsu.edu.ph. Some of my papers are accessible online and downloadable at dmmsanjuan.com. And you can also follow me at my Twitter at dmmsanjuan. Terima kasih.
Sama-sama, terima kasih Dr. Sanjuan for such comprehensive presentations. I would like to give in some highlighted points from what Dr. Sanjuan has already taught us. Actually, he also shared some experiences on how he, with Tanggol Wika, his advocacy group, to fight the language marginalizations that happening in Philippines. And also Dr. Sanjuan is actually the congressional nominee from ICT teacher party list in the 12-16 elections. Am I right, Doctor? Yes, yeah. And also some of the highlighted points in here I made is that how Philippines is right now remove some following subjects like Philippines history and then also Filipino literatures, and this is one of the key points that if you want to make kind of like social activism or maybe want to take a greater community empowerment, you should use Tagalog instead of English. This is just the point of it. Okay, now we move into the questions and answer sessions. I would like to welcome everyone, either who is in hotel or who is in Zoom, to raise their questions toward Dr. Sanjuan. We have 20 minutes question and answer session, so we still have lots of time. Yes, please. But can you please move forward so you can capture to the camera?
Thanks, Steve. First of all, I want to say magandang umaga, good morning for Dr. David Michael. Before asking my question, I want to thank Dr. David for the in-depth explanation. And me personally think that we have the similar problem here in this Southeast Asia region where we have a problem. Our native language is seen as inferior compared to English. And after doing that explanation, I personally just realized about the major problem that have caused a wang-wang, the call for action in the Philippines. And my question was, what is the core reason for these changes in the curriculum? According to Dr. Michael, of course, is it purely because of the effect of colonialism, or is it there may be an economic agenda from the government? That's all. Salamat po. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Sunwon, can you catch these questions or you need to repeat them?
Yeah, can you please repeat the latter part of the question? Thank you.
Okay, last part, can you also, you haven't mentioned your name?
Okay, first, my name is Ovel Budimanyu. I am a student majoring in international relations in UPN. And my question was, what is the core reason for these changes in curriculum according to Dr. Michael? Is it purely because of colonialism, or is there maybe an economic agenda from the government? That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, please, Doctor.
Okay, so thank you for that question. So, of course, the real agenda of all these restructuring is none other than sending more Filipinos abroad or overseas through the labor export policy, because they assume that if they will remove spaces for Filipino, Panitikan, and other similar subjects, the Filipinos can focus on just learning English and other foreign languages. And then Filipinos will have a better learning of the English language. They will have better language skills in English and other foreign languages, and hence they will be more employable in other parts of the world. And the government also claims that in many parts of the world, our engineers, our nurses, our other professionals are now being questioned about the old curriculum that we had, because the old curriculum that we had was just 10 years of basic education, and many countries now have 12 years of basic education. But of course, these are all claims. We have verified the claims, and we believe that these are really baseless, because even before K-12's implementation, even before they have added 2 years in basic education and they have reduced the subjects in college, even before that, Filipinos are employed in many parts of the world. We have nurses in the United States, in the United Kingdom's National Health Services. Many nurses are actually Filipinos. We have workers everywhere. In Singapore, I think in Malaysia, in Indonesia, for sure, there are also Filipino professionals and other workers. And these are proof that even before this restructuring, Filipinos are already in demand. It's not because they are able to speak English. It's part of the deal, but it's also because Filipinos are hardworking, just like many other Southeast Asian people. So that is the reason given by the government for further labor export, to ensure that our citizens will be very good in English. But we actually disagree with their analysis, because we all know that based on the experiences of Europe, say for example, Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, other English-speaking countries, meaning countries that speak English but nevertheless maintain their own local languages as medium of instruction in schools. We can actually learn from them. They learn good English by using English as just a subject. They rarely use English as a medium, except in higher education, and yet they have generally better English language skills than the rest of the world. So that is what we are trying to tell the government, that there's no need to reduce the units for Filipino and Panitikan, if the goal is to improve instruction in English, because we can improve instruction in English by improving instruction in the English subject. No? We don't have to use it as a medium. Yeah. Thank
So
you.
yeah, exactly. Like from what I know, Dr. Sanjuan, if I watch some YouTube videos from Filipino YouTubers, they are actually really good at speaking in English. Sometimes even they mix between Tagalog and also English. Sometimes I still do understand what she is talking about, So that's why I do agree with Dr. Sanjuan. So the restructuring in curriculum is not about the economic things. That's just the reason that government gave. Actually, Filipinos already hike on demands. I do really agree with it, with that, and also little bit things like we in Bahasa, we also have several same meaning words like kami. Kami means we, us. In Tagalog, it's also the same, right, Doctor? Also, anak. Anak means child. Also, langit. Langit is also sky. But we also have mahal. Mahal in Bahasa Indonesia is expensive. But in Pinoy means love. So don't say mahal, mahal, mahal. If you say mahal, mahal, mahal in Philippines, you say love, 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 love. You're begging for love. Okay, little bit some of stretching feeling. Okay, we have one questions, Doctor, here in chat box. I will read it for you. This is a question from Nasmi, a student of IR department. If I may ask to Dr. David, does this new inaugurated president of the Philippines, it's a bit off the topic, but you can share what is actually happening in Philippines, have struggling to accommodating and even preserving the locally diverse Filipino language, and also can the new government make changes in these marginalized Filipino language issues? Thank you, Doctor. You can answer directly.
Okay, thank you for that question. Now, recently in his inaugural speech, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. declared that he would want to improve the English language skills of our students, no? And in previous speeches, he emphasized that he would want English to be the only or sole medium of instruction. No? And that is why this is very controversial. No? Just yesterday, I had media interviews, and also early this morning, because of this controversy, because the current president is somehow anti-Philippine languages and seen as too pro-English. No? So our recommendation to them is simple. The current system that we have is not perfect, no? Because we use the mother tongues for grades 1, 2, and 3 in basic education. Just like in many parts of the world, diba? We have mother tongue-based multilingual education. It's premised on the idea that students learn best when they use the language at their home. So that's the idea for grades 1 to 3. But unfortunately, despite having this reform as early as 2013 as part of the K-12 reform package, the Philippine government did not pour much resources in this program. No? So teachers are complaining that they lack proper training and that they also lack instructional materials, high quality instructional materials, etc. But nevertheless, the intent of the MTB MLE or mother tongue based multilingual education is good. No? So we support it. And I think that the new administration should continue it, but we should ensure that there would be more funding, that the teachers' salaries will be increased, no? That there would be further financial help for schools to produce high-quality instructional materials. So all the resources must be provided so that it will be successful. So that from basic education, no, from grades 1 to 3, starting grade 4 onwards, they can slowly transition, the students can slowly transition towards learning Filipino and English. And Filipino and English will now become the medium of instruction for some of the subjects, no? But eventually, our long-term goal is to ensure that Filipino would be the primary medium, no? Because we are inspired by the situation in Malaysia and Indonesia, no? Where the national language is used at all levels and it is already intellectualized. So that's our dream, and we hope that the current administration considers Indonesia and Malaysia as the models, no, towards achieving that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sanjuan. Yes, right. We are here in Indonesia. We still have to take Bahasa Indonesia even in our national exam. We still have to take that even in the initial semester of our bachelor degree. We still have Bahasa Indonesia also. Because if I may add, English is right now, even if you are not putting them in the curriculum itself, people really need to know English as a second language. So that's why our mother language education is, especially in language, is really needed. Okay, Dr. Sanjuan, next we have one more questions in the chat box. This is relating to the previous answer. Apart from export labor, could globalizations on its own be part of the reasons for the government to take down the Philippines literature in the curriculum? This is from Arif.
Yes, thank you for that, Arif. I think that your analysis is also correct, no? That globalization on its own is one of the reasons on why they are trying to dilute or remove subjects such as Philippine literature, Filipino language, and even Philippine history. As I have mentioned, they emphasize global competitiveness. No? It's their mantra. No? We're actually getting tired of that phrase because our government bureaucrats are overusing that phrase, global competitiveness. And it's a very sad fact, no, that even more than 100 years after Philippine independence, our economy is still partly reliant on foreign investments. No? As you can see, the Philippines is still euphemistically called as a developing country. Of course, we all know that it's a synonym for a country that is still partly poor. No? At least using official government statistics, around 25% of my countrymen are still considered poor, using the government's own very low poverty threshold, especially during the pandemic. I think that it's more than 25% of our population. So it's very sad that the government's priority in ensuring that there's economic growth is still foreign investments. No? Despite the fact that there are alternatives. No? As I have already mentioned, the Sukarno, no? The dream of Bandung, no? The dream of third world independence, of third world countries helping each other. So I think that this is still possible in our times. No? Third world countries helping each other rather than allowing themselves to be exploited by transnational firms whose headquarters are mostly in the first world countries. But nevertheless, yes, I admit that this is still the system that we have today. The global system is still dominated by the Western countries. No? And that is why our government is still partly beholden, no, to what the foreign investors seem to require, just like good English skills. No?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Dr. Sanjuan. Is there any more questions? Okay, if not, I have one. Okay, sorry. We have one questions here, Dr. Sanjuan, who is coming to the hotel. Yes, please.
Okay. Good day, Dr. Sandra. Thank you very much for the comprehensive presentation. And let me introduce myself. My name is also Ferdila Wijaya, and I am an international relations student in UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. And we all know that Indonesia and Philippines have many similarities in both languages and cultures. I found that Philippines have many indigenous or local languages such as Tagalog, Cebuano, Ilocano, and Ligeno. In Indonesia, students in elementary school and the high school learns our indigenous or language or local language, such as Javanese and Sundanese and so on. I would like to ask what the best that government can do to preserve indigenous languages. Is it through curriculum is the best way, or do you have another solutions about it? Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and thank you very much. No, so of course the best way to do it is to ensure that there is space for the indigenous languages in the curriculum, and that is why we support the mother tongue based multilingual education. Because for the first time in history since 2013, the Philippine government recognized the need, no, to really include the local languages as medium of instruction in basic education. But we all know that it will not be enough, no? So there should be support beyond the education system, no? I think that for a language, no, for the local languages to be really seen as vibrant and strong, we envision a future in which even the businessmen, even the lawyers, even the doctors, even the professionals will be using these local languages, no? Whenever they are in the communities, whenever they are talking about community-based issues in front of national or local television. So that is the dream, no? For the local languages to be used not only in the formal education system, but also in the real world, no? In all aspects of life, especially when we discuss national and local issues that affect the lives of our fellow citizens, no? So that is the dream. But of course, we all know that in this process, it's a slow process for sure. So the social movements, the organization of workers, farmers, teachers will have a role in this, no? In promoting the local languages. But at the same time, the government also has a special role in ensuring that such a thing will happen, no? So the government should incentivize the use of the local languages in many aspects of our lives, no? The government should have competitions, say for example, on debates, essay writing contests, literary writing contests, competitions in which anyone can join, so that local literature and local languages will be promoted and used, no? There should be additional funding or subsidies for the development of local language cinemas, no? And so on. So there are many ways, but yes, we in the private sector, we teachers and other education stakeholders can only do so much. But most of the times, it would take the political will from the government to really make a change. And I think that this is a lesson that we have learned somehow from the relatively robust national language of Malaysia and Indonesia, no? Where there's formal government support, no, for the development of the languages. In just 20 to 30 years, in just one generation, your national languages were intellectualized. Meanwhile, our relatively older national language is still not fully intellectualized because the government is not pouring resources into its development. So we hope that they can really look at what happened in Indonesia and Malaysia. And again, I thank you all for this exchange.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. San Yuan. Due to the limitations of the time, that will be the last questions. Before end the sessions with Dr. San Yuan, allow me, on behalf of the committee, to give the certificate to Dr. San Yuan for thanking you on giving such notable presentations to us to let us know what is actually becoming struggle in Philippines to keep Tagalog as their mother language in several areas. Thank you so much, Mr. David Michael San Yuan. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you and terima kasih.
Sama-sama. Terima kasih, Dr. San Yuan. Okay. Next, we move to the presentations part 3, which is expert speakers. She is Dr. Patu Kasri Pitak. Sawadika, Dr. Patu.
Sawadika.
Am I right to spell your name, Doctor?
Yes, my name is Patu, and my last name you can pronounce it as Kusipitak.
Kusripitak. Okay. I will choose the Dr. Patu one. Okay. Let me introduce to you first. She is a lecturer in Museum Studies on the MA Cultural Studies program at Rilka Mahidol University, Thailand. She also served as a chair of the iCulture Group, running Museum of Cultural Anthropology, Vivid Ethnicity, Mobile Museum, and conducting museum training project for museum practitioners. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, now allow me to welcome Dr. Patu, present her expert speech entitled Ethnic Community Development Through Participatory Engagements in Line with SDGs. Okay, Dr. Patu, you have a time about 30 minutes and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Percy. Dear friends and colleagues, participants of the seminar, good morning, Selamat pagi, Sawasdi Tan Chao Kha. I represent the Research Institute for Languages and Cultures of Asia, or RILCA, of Mahidol University. We focus on researching in languages and cultures of minorities, raising multiple voices, and find a solution to the real-world problem. Today, I would like to share with you my experience working with ethnic community in Thailand to co-create the eco-museum to their cultural economies. So the title of my presentation is the Ethnic Community Development through Participatory Engagement in Line with the SDG. So I would start with my introduction. What I am going to share with you today is the experience in the ethnic community development project or the research project that I've been working through the eco-museum approach with the long-term engagement with the Karen ethnic community in Thailand. The result of the research come to the cultural transformations into the 3 dimensions: branding culture, placemaking, and the cultural practice. And then I would give you some example of the change in the community. And the last would be the sustainable development goals that we are, our project goes in line with the people, prosperity, and planet. Okay, let's get started with the problem. So as I mentioned to you that I've been working with the ethnic groups, the example of my talk today is the research work that I've been working with the Karen ethnic groups in Thailand. They live in Chiang Mai province in the northern part of Thailand. So they are still facing the problem of the poverty, not enough to live and not enough to eat. So they work very hard, but they earn so little. And with this kind of issue, the younger generation, they feel like they would like to leave the village to pursue the better life in the bigger city, in the center of the city. So that, cause the cultural diminishing for the community. And of course, the elderly people would also like to transmit the knowledge to the younger generation. So, there is the gap between these two generations. But when the younger generation leave the hometown, they don't bring their own heritage practice or heritage culture with them. So this also the problem in the community. So as my previous work that been working with cultural transmission, we found out that the cultural transmission, in order to do the cultural transmission for the younger generation this day, we need to do something with the culture. It should be the cultural transformation in a way. So in this project, we use the Eco Museum Doi Si Than as an approach to work with the people in the community to help them to develop themselves, to rely on their own cultural heritage, and they can earn some more income and some more money as well. So in this picture, you can see the drawing map that we've been working together with the people or the local community, the Karen people. So we creating the village to become an eco museum. Doi Si Than is the name of the village, and all the Karen people in the community, they name it, In Thai, it's Doi Si Than, and it can translate to English as mountain, like Four Creeks Mountain, because in this village, there are located in the mountain, and they have all four creeks, along in the village. So we connect them together, and we create the workshop or the learning experience, through the whole village, and they welcome the tourists and also the Karen people to come and learn. Here is the process of my work that I would like to share with you. We have in this chart, you may see that on the left-hand side is pre-design. In the middle is the design of what the intervention that we have been working with the community. And then on the right-hand side in the yellow color is the post-design. So let's get started with the left-hand side, the real-world problems. So since I mentioned before that, we have to understand, since we work with them for long-term, like 10 years social lab with them. So we have this kind of long-term engagement with the people. So we kind of know, what exactly the problems that they're facing. So we using this empathize, we live, look, listen, and learn with them with the human-centric design that we're trying to understand what their issue is all about and the problem solving skill. So we let them, the Karen people, to think of, what is the heritage things that they would like to preserve, or what they are proud of to being Karen people. We let them valuing their own heritage. And then, it comes to, it's kind of like a social design that the researcher and the participants or the Karen people in the community, we are co-creating or co-creation and co-curating, co-curation the story of their own heritage. They becomes like a local curators to tell their story, to create their storytelling by themselves, with their heritage practice. And then it comes out to the results of the research that maybe we can divide it by 3 categories. The first one is placemaking. They kind of like making the place, they change their own house to become a public house, open it to other people to learn and come enjoy and making a conversation. And then the next one is the cultural transformation, or the new way of the practice of the people that they would like to doing the farming in like a sufficient economy way. And with the post design, you may see that another thing that we've done with them is the branding culture. So with the Karen culture, they have many things, like many heritage that they value. So we work together, and it comes up to creating the product and service that can deliver it to other or to the public, and placemaking and the practice. Then all of the practice and all the result of my research, then it come also in lines with the SDGs of people, prosperity, planet, and also peace. So as I mentioned to you, our work, we participate with the people or the local community, the Karen people, working with them, long-term engagement, co-creating and co-creation. Here are the pictures of our participants and also the funder, the people who giving the money, the funding for our project, right? And with the Karen people, and also on the right-hand side, my colleagues and also his friends, his younger friends, they working with us like throughout the whole project. We've been working together. And as you may see the map, at the village as well. So with the participatory engagement, we engage with them, we work with them, we participate with the local community. We set up the informal meetings, and it depends on them. The time, like, okay, we not like go there and work with them at 9 o'clock. It depends on their pacing. Maybe they are available at night, then we, have the meeting at night. And we talk together, making a conversation, what they would like to preserve and things, and what their dream and things like that, and then in the process, we trial and others as well. Down here, you see the bamboo glasses. They are the expert in the field. He would like to promote this bamboo craft, and he also would like to teach other people to learn how to do it as well. And up there on the right, you may see the older lady, grandma, that she's wearing the bracelets, that kind of thing that she also proud of as well. So this picture also show you the way we work with the people, participate with them. We stay overnight, for the whole time. That was the winter time, and it was very, very cold at that time. So we set up the fireplace, and we gathering around the fireplace, talking to each other, making that kind of conversation about what do you expect your village to be, or what is your dream, and what would you like to do to earn more money, except doing the normal everyday, like farming, like they've done, like the monocrop and things like that. So, they're turning back, as you may see, that they're turning back to each other. But that keeps them very warm, with holding their hands back there. But they still, making a good conversation and very productive conversation at that time as well. So it comes to what they like to do. This also the example of one thing that they like to do, building up the old style of the Karen house, the Karen architecture, that any other people can come in and can experience how Karen live, and what the simple way of the Karen live, and where they can feel the atmosphere, and they can feel how Karen cultures are like. On the right hand side, you can see this guy. He is the expert. We can say that he's an expert of the bamboo craft in the village, and he can do anything from the bamboo, the glasses, and also the basket, or any container, or any craft, that he may done. So our Eco Museum Doi Si Than, with this approach, we work with them. So at the end, we think that, okay, the cultural transformation that happened or occurred in our research project are can divide into the 3 categories: branding culture, placemaking, and the cultural practice. For the branding culture, as you may know that the ethnic minorities, they always, have a lot of treasure or things that they can, it's very valuable. So they come up with these two things, the gawa bags and the musato or chili paste. Here, gawa bags. On the left, you may see that the two ladies, she holding the bag, and they actually have this kind of bag, but not this kind of big. So when we work with them during that process, that we the intervention that we work with them, let them think about what the heritage they like to preserve, and we also took them to the museum to go outside to learn from the other villagers or learning from the cultural tourism or the ethnic cultural tourism entrepreneur, something like that. So then when they come back, they think of, they have many things that maybe they need to add some value out of it. So the gawa bag is one example that before they also like to do some dye or the weaving the textile with the traditional style using the natural color, from the trees or from any plants in the village. So they now become to do that, so making this kind of a very pretty color like this and a very big style of the bag. The big one is using mostly for moving from one village to another village, but it fit very perfect with the people in the public that, that the people or whoever that going to buy this thing, they really like this kind of design. Okay, so we as Ruga, we sell it for them at the museum. Since I am working at the Museum of Cultural Anthropology at the university and also at the mobile museum, the Vivid Ethnic City. So we help them to sell this as well. And then we bring back the money to them as well. So then, they realize that, this kind of heritage that maybe they forgot about it, that, okay, they can make some money out of it as well. Musato. Okay. Musato is the signature Karen chili paste, good thing like for eating. It's like an everyday food that Karen people eat it every day, eat it with every meal actually, Okay, you can make a musato for from anything like pork, fish, skin pork, frog or vegetable or anything that you can find, in that special season, it depends on when you are going to eat it. And with the Karen chili, very, very hot and spicy, it make it, tasty. Now it comes to branding this musato. Musato, as I told you, means chili paste. These two are my model, the model, the grandpa and grandma. So this branding, it's called Musato PP Pupu. PP means grandma, this one, and Pupu means grandpa. And these two are our model. And the recipe of this grandma and grandpa, it can transmit to the younger generation and it can make some money out of it. Here, her daughter and also her niece, right? Okay, so they, we helping, co-create to see that, what kind of recipe that's going to be good and fit to sell it to others, right? So this lady is just try to use this water to make this. Oh, sorry. Okay, so these are the musato, okay, before maybe you see the picture of this the container that we work in the field work, and then later on, it come out to this one, to the container and the bamboo from the guy, the expert, the crafting in the village, right? And then we also help selling this to the public, like this. Also the rice as well in the community, in Karen community, they never thought before that their rice can be sold, and then we help them to creating this kind of storytelling and being the media to sell it to the others. Okay, second, the placemaking. Placemaking, it's creating the private house or the private property from private to public, to creating the place for making a good conversation. It's a platform for the cultural transformation. In the lady's house, she allowed people, she actually invite people to come and join and learn to make the spiritual drink at her home, and also invite to learn about the culture through the food, to the Karen food, gathering together and eating together. These are the tourists. They actually are the volunteer tourists that come to test our product, the eco museum services and product as well. So they enjoy a lot, and learning with the community. This lady, she's the owner of the house, and she's the one that making the cultural spiritual drink for you may know that the drink, the cultural spiritual drink, is used for almost every rituals in the Karen culture. So these days not that many people that making this kind of thing. So she said that making this one, it's like becoming a center of the house, of the village, and people can come and gathering together, enjoy, gathering, taking. We can exchange the knowledge and also talking about the cultural transformation as well. Here, another group of the tourists, the volunteers as well, that come enjoy with us, with experiencing the Karen culture, to see that what they like or what things that we have to improve in order to serve this kind of museum to the public. The kids are involved in the project, as I mentioned to you before. They become the, tour guide, tour guide for the village. So they actually live in these 4 villages that keep connecting to each other. So we actually appoint them to be like a ship of the village, to become like a tour guide of the village as well, playing and talking with the tourists or the people who come in their community. The ladies working on, that's kind of weaving and everything, and the men are working on this craft basket and things like that. Here at Wilga, that we are selling these gawa bags for them. And also when we took our caravan museum, this is the Vivid Ethnic City Caravan Museum, the caravan exhibition that we go around, to the community, to the museum, to schools and the university. So we brought the ethnic product as well with us, and we help them to sell it as well, and then bring back the money to them as well. Also the musato, as I mentioned to you, you can buy it as like 1 kilo or only 1 box, and the storytelling of PP and poo recipe. Okay, another thing is the cultural practice. So we come across the family that they are thinking about like changing the way of farming from monocrops to the integrated farming, and adopting the sufficiency economy to work in the farming. So this kind of farming is their work in the family, that the father and the son, they work together. They co-create between these 2 generations. So it's not transmit or telling what to do from father to the son, but they work together to think of what they would like to do, to maybe it will earn more. So they have enough to eat, they have enough to live, without using the chemical for farming as well. And they don't need to use any money for everyday life, everything at home like this. Yeah. So they have lots of buffaloes. Like these days, not that many of them that have the buffalo. So they have these buffaloes and the ponds with the fishes and everything. And they try to live in this sufficient way, or, with the integrated farming.
Sorry to interrupt. You have 5 minutes left.
Yes, thank you. Okay, here. So these are the experience that you can learn. That you can experience when you visit the Eco Museum here. Okay, the change that we have found here is the capability of the people that human development is the process of enlarging people's choice, and we enlarging the choice for them. And in the community, we're creating the platform that have this participation in political and community life and the environment, creating the community curator at home. These are voices from them, being part of the project, helping increasing the income, joining the project, change have allowed them to learn new things, being able to do things, and it's good to join the project because you can earn more income, waving this kawaii bag, things like that. And the lady down here, yeah, of course, she is the one who making the spiritual drink. So she said it's almost disappear. And being part of the project allows me to create cultural spiritual drink, very significant for the culture. And the lady here, she said that she changed her perspective towards the cultural practice and cultural here. The lady up here also, she liked to promote her Doi Setan village to the public. And she loved it. She liked to welcome people to her hometown. The guy's, bamboo craft expert, he said that it's good to pass on the knowledge to others, right? And this lady, she said that earning extra income is very good. The lady down here, dyeing and making the national the natural color is good. Okay, the impact, of course, the people able to design prosperity is earning more income and cultural economy, and the planet or the village is green products, green service, and green village. The lesson learned here are we can point out the lesson that we learned here, that the social design intervention is about the future, it's not about the past. So skill of problem solving skill and critical and creative thinking skill is very important. The long-term engagement with them step by step is also, the strategy to work with them based on the authentic relations, based on the mutual trust. And the community need to decide by themselves. We cannot tell them what to do, but we have to let them set their own path. And the Eco Museum is the mean, it's not the end. So the villagers are be able to develop themselves and live in more sustainable way by using their heritage and know how to create the services and products. And the critical skills are need to keep the community alert. And lastly, the narrative should be kept open for continuous meaning making and by deliver the storytellers. This guy, he also said that, after the end of the project, we're talking to him, and he said that he doesn't want any money from the university. We would like to gain knowledge from you, learn and try together, being a long-term engagement partner to grow together. That's he like. So we propose the Ethiopian policy that can connect the ethnic cultural economy for the sustainable communities. Here, if you like to learn more about our Eco Museum Doi Setan, you can go to the online exhibition on the Google Arts and Culture, and also my paper, my article on the Austrian Journal of the Southeast Asian Study, and you can contact me at my email here. Thank you.
Okay, massive thank you, Dr. Patu. That's a very brief explanation and also very interesting. Actually, we also have several kind of sameness between what already have in Doi Setan Museum. We also have natural dyes. In Indonesia, we have batik, kain batik, and also you also mentioned about Karen chili paste. We also have here in Indonesia sambal.
Ah, nice.
We also have sambal. And also, it's very interesting to know that in those eco museum we have like cafe, tea house in there. Also, I browsed something on the Google and I found that Eco Museum Doi Sitan also offers some local games.
Yes.
Yeah, can you please mention more, maybe about what kind of local games who is in this museum?
The games, right? Actually, yeah. Okay. Well, you may see. Let me go back to my. I think this one can maybe show you a little bit. It's like local, really. You see this kind that's you see, yeah, the view, right? So they the kids act. You may see on the right hand side here. The kids here, he is very expert doing this kind of thing. And if you like to trying to do
Roll
it. Yeah, rolling it with one stick, right? So actually, we create the route in the village, and you have to come from when you walk around in the village. Then you go up to the hill, and then you up on the hill, and then the kids would bring the wheels up there or up over there at the hill, and then you kind of like playing this and go down to the village down here. So it's kind of like you go around in the village to play around with the kids. Yes.
I see. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Batu. We move to the questions and answer sessions. We have about 20 minutes.
Yes.
I open for questions and answer sessions. First, we have three first questions here, who is coming directly at Surabaya, Dr. Batu.
Yes.
First, maybe I would like to give the chance to Mr. Renan. You can raise your questions directly.
Thank you very much, Mbak Fasti, as the moderator. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Rizky Nanda. I am a student in UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, majoring in IR. So, from the presentation from Ms. Patu, I saw that there are so many similarities between Indonesia and also Thailand in types of agricultural economy and then cultural economy. But then, from my own experience also, when I was in an event in Trenggalek with Himater now, I saw that there are so many aspects from societies that has been left untouched by the government. So what I want to ask is, if you could give some suggestion for Indonesia, maybe the society, or maybe us as an academic, or even the government in this type of economy, what should be the focus if we want to help these people to be prosperous in the future? And then, is there any suggestion on what should we do to maybe increase the focus again on this kind of topic? Because I think this is very important if we want to ensure SDG for all the people in Southeast Asia. Maybe that is the question for me. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Patu, can you get the questions?
Can you like maybe round up again? Like
Okay, I
many,
round up.
right? Yes. Yes.
It's been echoing.
Mm-hmm.
Get the microphones. Okay. The questions for Mr. Renan is actually, can you give suggestions to the governments to gather the communities to get wealthier? What kind of the tips from you to the governments to engage more to the communities?
Oh, the tips for the government, right? To pay attention more, basically, right? Like for this kind of the ethnic minority groups, right? Oh, that's kind of hard. But I think, as the keynote speaker that he also, he mentioned that I think what we can do, like in academic area, like we all, are working in the academic world, also like the social activists. So I think we are able to do the research or to work with this community and make them exist, as the keynote speaker that Mr. Abdul that he's mentioned before, because in order to the public to learn more or to know about the ethnic minorities, maybe we need to make a move our bit, right? So I think if each of us like a little at a time, right, we can working with the communities and showing and making them exist like this, maybe it will how do you say it, like it will check, or maybe the government would learn about it. But it's quite hard as well because in order to do the research, you also need to have some funding as well, right? And then, asking or, propose your research project to the government it's not that easy as well, right? To get the money to do the project. We think that, if we, I think working with the partners, like with the partnerships, different partnership would be also the tips that you have the academic people, you have the social activists, maybe you have people also in the community that are willing to learn and work with you and go through this kind of issue with you together, right? And maybe someone who would be able to talk it louder, like right now you maybe don't need the media or like the main media, but you can have the YouTuber or whoever that can speak up for you, right? Actually, I can give you an example, but it's not quite success for our Eco Museum project. When we've done this, we have the YouTuber, like a very famous YouTuber in Thailand. He would like to learn more about the ethnic groups. So he asked me to bring him to our village. So we brought him, his name is B the Sky. So we brought him to our village, right? So he is the one so he making a content about, how ethnic people live and things like that and their culture and everything. And he's very fascinated in their culture. And, as he is, the YouTuber, a very famous, maybe people, be the big fan, and they can maybe like search on it and would like to come and join and learn more about the community and things like that. But when it was not so lucky when he promoting his traveling, his trip to our museum, it was in the COVID-19. So then nobody can come, things like that. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Dr. Patu. Is that clear enough, Renan? Okay, clear enough. So one of the tips from Dr. Patu is actually talk it louder, maybe by inviting influencer. Is that what we'll call them, influencer, to come to promote the Eco Museum itself. And maybe one of the tips, if I may add, is by making Instagram page. Dr. Fatu?
What was that again?
Instagram.
Oh, Instagram, yes.
Yeah, Instagram. So the younger fellas like us should know, if we want to know about Doi Sitan Museum, we can just Google and also maybe just open our Instagram to know what the museum offer to us.
Yes.
Okay.
But I when we open to, the village to the public, we really need to be well prepared, because there are there will be more things like you will have to deal with a lot of people, and and the other things that comes with the garbage and many things. So it's have to be very careful as well. But if you are willing to work with more publics to come to your place, then would be worth it.
Okay, so until now, it's still not really big, open big in the public.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Yes.
And that actually, after we have this, the YouTuber came to our Doi Si Tan museum, there were another YouTuber that contact us to like to come to promote his, to make his own content. But the lady that I show you in the picture, the younger generation, the Karen, she is afraid to welcome them by herself. So she's like, I am also the admin of the page, Darcy Tan as well. So she's would like me to be there also with her, in order to invite that kind of the big media like that. So then the time is not right to each other because the guy would like to come just right away. So, but at least, there's some kind of move, talk it louder or have the influencer, then maybe can make it more reaching.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Patu. We move to the other questions in here in our hotel. Would like to give a chance to Mr. Praja.
Okay. Good afternoon, Dr. Patu.
Good
Nice to meet you in this conference. I just want to share something and maybe ask you a question, Dr. Patu. Comparing to Thailand, actually, in tourism sector, Indonesia has a very small large of gross domestic product. In Thailand, the tourism sector reach almost 20%, and in Indonesia, we still only have 1 or 2% of our GDP. And going to give maybe I just want to give some reflection question, yeah, Dr. Pato, because I'm very curious, based on your experience and based on your knowledge, what is the end game of this community engagement and related to development? Because sometimes it's just contradictory, because if we talk on development, we only talk on economic development, wealth development, and sometimes it feels contradictory when government foster on GDP increasement, GDP increasement, and then the growth of the industry. But sometimes we forget how to conserve the local communities. Sometimes we forget how to give a life, a current life, alive to the local community. So I think, based on your perspective and view and experience, what is the end game of community engagement? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions. Yeah, that is our concern as well. And for when we have worked with the community, actually it is not us to creating this thing, but since we work with them, we talk to them as like cousins, like family, right, member of the family. So in our case, we work with them and we see like what they would like to do. We actually ask them first. It's not that we put in our intervention. So we talk to them and see what they would like to do. And with this the eco museum approach, that it kind of like our intervention. We don't know yet if it's going to be sustained enough, like long in the future. But at least, what we work with them now is that at least they turn back, because in everyday life right now, they are still facing the poverty. Like, okay, they work a lot, they work hard, doing this agriculture work, but they not do in a sufficient So of course, then, they have a lot of debt, in their family. So then we know about that, right? So we sit and we talk a lot, about like what kind of things that they would like to do, things they like to do. So we like, okay, in order to earn more, I would say that only earn more, like earn extra money out of, since they're living in their hometown. So in order to do that, they also kind of like feeling of or turning back to see that, oh, there is their own heritage that is so valued, the valuable of their own heritage, that maybe they just forget about it because they also would like to become Thai, like, or maybe they don't want to even open to the other people that they are the another ethnic group as well, right? So that's kind of thing. So when we work with them, they would like to do this. Their cultural practice, the heritage practice come into the intervention. Work with them, and then it come out to like creating this kind of eco museum. As you concerned that, of course, we really have to be very careful of their own life. So otherwise, it will be like the event. Like you put a lot of money to the event, and you creating it. Promoting everyone to come, and then when everyone's gone, yeah, the village is die, right? And there is not, it's not preserving or anything. I think I'm lucky enough that the people in the community, they don't really need money that much. Okay, they of course concerned that, oh, they can make more money out of preserving or concerning about their own heritage. But it's not like greedy that they would like to earn a lot of money and then forget about their own heritage. That's what I think I faced with my situation.
Okay, I think it's a very brief explanation from Dr. Patu. We move to the other questions from Miss Arasita. Yes, please. Okay, Sawadee Mr. Miss Pato. Let me introduce myself. My name is Arsita, and I am from International Relations Department. And thank you so much for your comprehensive and interesting presentation. Actually, it was really interesting because after your presentation, I know a little bit about your culture. And actually, the model of the Musa is cute, the grandma and grandpa. And okay, next to my question is, what's the challenge where you face when you run your eco museum? And after the challenge, is there any changes in the eco museum? That's all. Thank you.
Okay, the challenge of working in this project, right? Okay, the challenge is that this, I can say that, okay, when we work in the project, people come, many intergenerations come to join with the project. The challenge is that the younger generation went out, as I mentioned to you, they went out from the village, they gone. They went to the bigger city because they found that, the bigger city is pretty, it's beautiful. To get a job there, it seems, better, right? Better life than just staying home. You don't gain any, that more money. So that's what I faced with the younger generation. At first, we thought that they would join us like for the whole time, but they joined in the beginning. But then in the middle time, they left. But the lucky thing is that at the end, she came back. Because of what? Because of COVID. The COVID-19 sent people back home because, all the workers who came to the city after the COVID-19, it caused a lot of, people just, lost their job and they have to go back to their hometown, right? And then when they come back to their hometown, they realize that, oh, our culture or our current culture, our community is very, it's the thing that's so, value, and they learn more about their heritage. And that what I told you, she is the one that after the end of the project, she set up the Facebook page, Doi Si Tan page by herself. And she told me that she would like to other people to learn and know about her own culture. And then she set up like TikTok, like cooking some Karen food to show other people how Karen eats and things like that. And also put something on YouTube, that kind of thing. So I think it's kind of like challenge and also it's solve as well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Patu. Due to the limitations of the time, we sadly end this Q&A sessions. And before end these sessions, actually allow me on behalf of the committee to give the A certificate to you, Dr. Patu, for thanking you on giving such insightful and notable presentations to us to share about Doi Si Tan Museum, Eco Museum with us today. Massive thank you, Dr. Patu.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, we move to our third expert speaker, who is also attending offline here in Surabaya. Let me introduce to you Assistant Professor Prihandono Wibowo. He has an interest in studies in the field of terrorism and international security studies. Apart from teaching, he is also researchers at the Center of Localization Studies and Center for Radicalism and Extremism Studies. Currently, he is also focused his research studies on the role of family and closest community in local and international terrorism countermeasure strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, now allow me to welcome Assistant Professor Prihandono Wibowo to present his expert speech, which is also our last expert speakers, entitled Family-Based Counter-Terrorism Strategy. For about 30 minutes, Mr. Prihandono, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity that given to me as the speaker. Be honest, this is my first experience to be expert speaker in the international conference. Okay, good morning also to Mr. Abdul Nakaban, I'm Dr. David Michael Sanjuan, and also Dr. Patu. It is an honor to be able to discuss with all of you. Today, I would share about something interesting, about something relevant to Indonesia's security context, about terrorism, especially about family terrorism that happened in Indonesia. Okay, on the next slide. Yeah, as we know, that Indonesia faced the serious problem on terrorism issue. So, from 1999 until 2021, Indonesia faced various terrorist attacks that carried out by various groups such as Al-Qaeda in Southeast Asia, Al-Qaeda Indonesia, and also Jamaah Islamiyah, and recently by the ISIS. And I find the interesting fact that since 2014, the terrorism attack in Indonesia is dominated by the ISIS group, which the target is the police and police headquarters, also the church and the Christian. I think this is the unique characteristic of attack terrorism by ISIS that different with the terrorism trend by the Al-Qaeda. Because Al-Qaeda attacked the Western object, but ISIS, they attack the police and also the Christian. I think it's quite interesting fact by the ISIS. Okay, next slide. Yeah. The other interesting fact that since 2018 to 2021, the terrorist group Indonesia involving of all their nuclear family members in various terrorist attacks. On the slide, we can see the terrorist attack that occurred in 2018 in Surabaya, as well as the terrorist event that occurred in 2021 in Makassar, involving all the nuclear family members. For example, in 2018, in terrorism attack in Surabaya, Tita Oriko's family conduct suicide bombing attack in 3 different places in Surabaya. In Gereja Kristen Indonesia, Gereja Santa Maria Tapicala, and Gereja Pantai Costa. So, yeah, and the father, the Tita Oriko, attacked the Central Pantai Costa Church, and his 2 sons, Yusuf Fadil and Firman Halim, carried out suicide bombing at the Church of Santa Maria Tapicala, and his wife and 2 daughters carried out the suicide bombing at the Indonesian Christian Church, Gereja Kristen Indonesia. Also in Surabaya in 2018, the terrorist group also attacked the Surabaya police headquarters, which involved 3 multi-honest families, father, mother, and their children. So I think it's interesting fact that recently the terrorist group involving all of their nuclear family as the perpetrator of terrorism. Also in 2021, the perpetrator of suicide bombing that consisted of husband and wife attacked the cathedral church in Makassar. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. This trend, local terrorism in Surabaya and also in Makassar in Indonesia is aligned with the trend of global terrorism with the ISIS in Middle East. This can be confirmed in 2 ways. The first, terrorist attack in Surabaya was claimed by the central ISIS leadership as the successful of the attack in Indonesia region. So we can see on the slide, the ISIS in 2018 published the article in Arnabat Media. The title is Junud al-Khilafah fi Syarqi Asia Majamat ala Kanais wa Syurta fi Indonesia. The meaning is the soldier of Khilafah in East Asia attacked the church and police in Indonesia. So it is published in 132 edition by ISIS in Media Anaba. So we can find that the local terrorism in Surabaya and also in Surabaya, it is related to the global terrorism that carried out by ISIS. And ISIS praised the perpetrator of terrorism by saying that they are the Junud Khilafah. The meaning is the army or the soldier of the Khilafah. So they praise the family of Tita Oriko and Tribunziono as the soldier of the Khilafah in Indonesia, in Asia. Yeah. Okay. Next slide. The linearity between the local terrorism in Surabaya and the phenomenon of global terrorism also can be seen from the similarity of doctrine. As we can see in the various ISIS propaganda video, they also published the specific video about how the education of the children in the ISIS area. So if we play the general, if we see this video, we can see the education of the ISIS. No, it's just right. We can see how ISIS educate and give indoctrination to the children. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. For example, in this video, the ISIS gave the doctrination about al-wala wal-bara, the loyalty and disloyalty. So the children were taught by the ISIS leadership, by the ISIS instructor, to loyal to the God and to disloyal with the enemy of the God. And they also were given doctrination about who is Togut. Togut is everyone who opposes the God. The children committed to fight with the Togut. part of the ISIS clip propaganda video. Besides they give the doctrination of Al-Wala al-Bara, they also train the children to use the various of the weapons of the weapon. The instructor of the training said that this is a part of the preparation to prepare the soldier of the Khilafah in the future. And then, yeah, and the instructor also hope that the children are ready to destroy the enemy of Islam. Yeah, so yeah, we can find that ISIS group, the ISIS educate the children with the doctrine and also with the physical training by uh, using the weapon. And also they burn the passport. So this is the children from Indonesia and Malaysia, and they burn their passport. Yeah. Okay, next slide. Yeah. Not only train the children, but ISIS also train the women to practice the weapon and to prepare to conduct the military operation. So in this video, ISIS show how women are trained to use the various of kind of weapon, and also practice to prepare to the battlefields. Next slide. Okay. Yeah. And in this video, ISIS released how women are trained to use the weapon, and also to conduct the suicide bombing. So it happened in Uzbekistan. So we can find the similarity between the terrorist group, the terrorism attack between ISIS in the Middle East, in the Syria, in the Uzbekistan, and also in the Indonesia with this video. Okay, next slide. Yeah, the trend of terrorism ISIS Indonesia in line with the instruction of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the Caliph of ISIS, and the spokesperson of our ISIS, Abu Muhammad al-Adnani, that stated that this is obligation for every individual ISIS sympathizer or supporter to carry out attack against the enemy, even if the attack is just throwing stone at the enemy. ISIS also claimed that attacks carried out on the enemy lands are more intimidating than operations carried out in ISIS territories. Okay, next slide. Yeah, we can find also the writing. It's related from it's not from the ISIS, but we can trace the ideology of family terrorism since the Al Qaeda. So we can see in this writing, it's written by the Sheikh Al Hafiz Yusuf bin Saleh Al Uyari, the one prominent leader of Al Qaeda, who died in 2003. Who died in 2003. He explained that women could be a combatant in the battlefield. The women could be a terrorist perpetrator against the enemy. So the women not just for the supporter, but they can be a combatant in the battlefield. So from this writing, we can trace the ideology of family terrorism since the Al Qaeda since 2003. As it can be trained in 2018 by the ISIS. And also in this writing, the Al Hafiz Yusuf Al Iyari also explained that the women should motivate the younger generation to fight the enemy of Islam. Yeah, we can trace the ideology of family terrorism in since Al Qaeda. Okay, next slide. So what do they believe? What do they believe? They believe that what do they believe? What the ISIS supporters believe? The ISIS supporters believe that ISIS is a representation of legitimate caliphate for the Muslim. They also believe that ISIS caliphate is supporter of Imam Mahdi against the Dajjal, against the Antichrist. They also believe that ideology of Salafi jihadism that emphasize violent methods against the enemy. Also, they believe that Islamic law must be fully implemented, and they also reject the democracy, which is considered as a man-made system that is contrary to the Islamic law. Okay, next slide. Yeah, this is the part that illustrate the ideology transformation, how someone can be a terrorist. It also happened with the family terrorism. So in the context of family terrorism, father has the significant role to transform ideology terrorism from the father to his wife and also to their children. So it's begin with by saying that Muslims are being oppressed, then it's continued by identifying who is considered as the enemy. And also, it continued to the importance of resistance and followed by the indoctrination and preparation for terrorism attack. So there are several steps how someone be a terrorist and how the family terrorism can be happen. The father has the significant role to transform the ideology terrorism to his wife and to their children. Okay, next slide. Yeah, here about the counter strategy of the family terrorism. I believe that there is no single solution to this problem because this problem is complex, because it's related to the global phenomenon of terrorism. It happened. It also related to the social political grievance in global context. So I think there is no single solution for this problem. Maybe for the Indonesian context, the government needs to use a multi-approach strategy. The government needs to eliminate silo mentality. In Indonesia, we call it sectoral ego among the counter-terrorism security agency. Because as we know, there is conflict. There are some conflict between the agency, the counter-terrorism agency Indonesia. The conflict between BNPT, Densus 88, and the police. There are some conflict. So they should make good cooperation with them. And the second, the government need to involve the public, including in building the security, in promote the security in the community. And the third, the government also should control the content on the web, because we can find easily. We can assess. We can download many material terrorism from the internet. So video and how to make a bomb, how to make security. There are so many material that published on the internet. So I think the government should really control the web, the content on the web. Also, the government also can use the externalist testimony to conduct counter discourse against the ideology of terrorism. I think that's all of my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Prihandono. Would like to highlight some important point from what Mr. Prihandono already presented to us, which is terrorism is actually really near with us. Sometimes we don't know that our neighbor is actually part of terrorist itself. So, and also, Mr. Prihandono highlighted how Surabaya bombing is also one of the example that actually happened near us in Surabaya. How family can be the terrorist itself. And also, Mr. Prihandono highlighted about ISIS is about anti-democracy and the flow of thinking why or what's making us to be terrorists is the key is feeling frustrations. If we are feeling frustrated about something, and then we maybe read about terrorism act, and then it affects to our mental. And also one of the keywords that I want to highlight in here, maybe it's also the same from the previous speaker already said to us, is about community engagements. So to counter terrorism itself, one of the measures is by doing or strengthen the community engagements. Right now we have Q&A sessions. I open for the questions towards Mr. Prihandono in here. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. You can ask through the chat box or you can ask directly. Okay, we have a few questions directly here in Surabaya.
Okay, good day everyone and good day Mr. Prihandono. My name is Salsa Febiola Maningijaya and I'm an international relations student at UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. The recent news showed that there is a terrorist in the academical scope, especially in one of universities in Indonesia. Besides, the suspect was learning terrorism in his college, such as how to tackle terrorism, the impact of the terrorism itself, and so on. My question is, what is the best way to counter terrorism in the academical scope? That's all. Thank you so much.
Yes, you can answer directly.
Okay.
Mr. Prihandono.
Yeah, I believe there is no one solution. I believe that not only academic, but I believe that the government also has the role to against the terrorism. So I think, yeah, we should make a good cooperation between the society, between academic, and also by government. People have it in the academics, the concept. So we should cooperate one another to against to tackle the terrorism issue. But in the academic, we can learn deeply about terrorism, and we can make the opposite narration to the terrorism groups. Yeah, so we can learn critically about the terrorism, what they want, what they want, and so by understanding them, so we can make the counter narration to the terrorism group, to the terrorist group. For example, they want to establish Islamic Caliphate, but we have to give the rationality. Is it possible to establish Islamic Caliphate in Indonesia? Yeah. We use the counter narrative strategy as academician to counter terrorism ideas.
Okay, is there any add comment to that answer?
No, there is clearly enough. Thank you so much for the answer.
Okay, thank you so much. We move to the other questions here. Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adalia Citra, and I'm also international relations student of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. So my question to Mr. Prihandono is actually the counterwise with what Salsa asked. What she asks is like, what is going to happen if the threat is coming from the external factors? But what I'm trying to ask is that what happens if the influence or the terrorism threats is actually precisely coming from the family itself? Like we know what Miss Firsty has explained earlier in her highlight that we have no idea if this family is, is a terrorist, for example. So there is still like an identified family that could be, that has possibility that they are terrorists, for example. So what can be done to prevent that, the influence coming from the family itself? Like, is there any way for the person, for example, like this student, for example, have a family that influence him or her to join this organization, for example, or to do terrorist act? So is there any way for that person to escape from the family's influence itself? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think there is a need to engage the community. So we can see in society there is there come mass, something like that. So it is the community that regulated by the police to control the society, to control the security and the society. And also we also can use the religious community to against the terrorism idea. So back to the first question, I believe that there is we need the greater cooperation with all of the community, education, and also the government. So yeah, so it's difficult for someone to escape from the family that influenced by the terrorism idea. But yeah, but I think again we need more cooperation between the society and government and also the security force. We cannot use security forces as the solely to against the terrorism idea. So I believe that we need greater cooperation between this sector. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think if I may add, maybe to escape asking for help, maybe the closest one is asking your lecturer maybe to help them to escape that maybe the family itself is the, always penetrating all about terrorist acts. Okay, we move to the chat box. In here we have two questions, Mr. Prihadono. First from Ataya, actually related with feeling frustrations of terrorist face, why they invite their children to do the terrorism act. For example, like what's happening in Surabaya. Actually, because those family is they are finally fine family and they have a good relations with their neighbors. Then why the father invite their children to do that?
Maybe they believe that by conduct the social bonding, by the terrorist attack, they will defend the Islam. So they will defend the religion that oppressed by the external power. And also they believe that if they conduct the terrorism or they conduct the jihad based on their language, they believe that they will be taken to the heaven. So there is some religious aspect, also some apocalyptic, some religious aspect for the doctrine that if they conduct the jihad operation, they will together go to the heaven. I think it's important also.
Okay, that's the I mean like the big gift that they providing. If you are willing to join with us, you'll get accepted at heaven. Okay, next we have from chat box also from Haider Faik. He wants to ask about how does globalizations related to terrorism? Why the terrorism network on global can be connected with terrorism in Indonesia? Thank you.
Globalization related, very related to the terrorism because globalization make the new terrorism phenomenon. So someone or some groups can do terrorist attack independently, but they take the ideology from the internet. So they also learn how to make bomb from the simple thing by learning from the internet. So I think globalization gives many features that can be exploited by the terrorist group to develop their network, to develop their to spread their ideology. So yeah, I think it's related, related about the globalization and also the terrorism. So,
So also, the training sessions also located in several areas.
oh yeah.
Okay. Is there any more questions towards Mr. Prihardono? Okay, we still do have time. We have one here. Okay, you can move forward. Okay, thank you for your presentation, Mr. Bruno. First of all, you said earlier that there is an ecosectoral in this terrorism. So can you a bit further elaborate or unpack this rated bureaucracy of portioning to our terrorism agency? I mean, like, what is the ecosectoral factor in this terrorism happening in Indonesia?
To be honest, I cannot explain it this forum. Maybe after this forum, I can explain it. Because I think it's sensitive, and I think it's sensitive because it's related to the institution. I don't want to track by the police.
Out of the record, yeah, out of the record. Okay.
Okay, so I have another question.
Another question.
Is there any analysis that have been produced so far by those agencies, those ISIS agencies or Al Qaeda or something that influenced Indonesian terrorism? And is there any overlapping agenda in a way that they might making any agenda and overlapping each other maybe? They might having internal conflicts in their agencies. And is there any?
Indonesia agencies.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's the same with the first person. So yeah, I think so. It's I cannot explain in this forum. Maybe after this forum, I can tell you some of the conflict related to the agency in Indonesia. I don't want to be targeted.
Okay.
Out of the record again.
I have another question.
Okay.
0%.
You
I
want to
actually have a
listen,
lot
Mr.
of questions
President?
related to this topic because, first of all, like 90% of the people here is like Muslims and the fathers and mothers, they have families too. And I think how can mother and fathers here prevent themselves from terrorism itself? I mean, like biasanya kan datangnya dari kayak pengajian gitu tuh small groups that then it grow bigger about this terrorism issues. How mothers and fathers here, if you have any tips for them to prevent themselves from this family terrorism stuff? Thank you.
I also have some tips and tricks to how to avoid the terrorism idea. So I ever heard from I forget the name, but just follow the mainstream group Muslim in Indonesia, for example. In Indonesia, in Muslim context. So you just need to follow the pengajian, pengajian yang diselenggarakan oleh kelompok mainstream seperti Muhammadiyah. So I think it's the tip and trick to avoid the extremist idea that come from the ISIS or Al Qaeda and some kind of terrorist group.
Also, it can be concluded that joining the mainstream group is better than joining certain group that might be.
Yeah, maybe it's one of the things.
Thank you very much, Ms.
Okay, thank you so much. I think it is very enough for the Q&A sessions. Maybe later you can ask Mr. Prihandono in 4 Eyes. directly to Mr. Priyadono. Okay, I would like to remind all of the participants who is joining us on Zoom that the committee already shared the attendance list of participants. You can click on the links and also the participant certificate data. So please make sure that you type the correct letters of your names because they will be automatically on your certificate. Apparently, we still have enormous questions or topic to be discussed. However, due to limited time, we need to end our discussion sessions today. Before end these sessions, actually, allow me on behalf of the committee to give the certificate to Assistant Professor Prihandono Wibowo. Thank you so much, Mas Dono, for giving such insightful presentations. You can clap directly here. Thank you so much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have finally come to the end part of these sessions. Actually, before I close these sessions, I would like to invite each speaker, maybe who are still in here. Wait. I would like to check first. Okay. Okay, we still have Dr. Patu and also Mr. Prihandono in here. I would like to invite each of the speakers to give us some short closing remarks for a minute long. Starting from Dr. Patu. Dr. Patu. Yeah, okay, 1 minute for you for closing remarks.
Well, actually, thank you for the committee of the conference for having me here as a representative of Ryuga Mahidol University. With our work that we work with the ethnic minorities and raising the voices for the minority, we think that to work with the community closely, it will help to spotlight the existing of the ethnic minorities. And we, of course, propose that the policy of connecting the ethnic minority and bring it to the policy and the economy, cultural economy for sustainable development, as I mentioned before. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the concise closing remarks. Okay, I think enough. Please allow me also to take some highlighted points to conclude, to sum up what we have been having today, starting from Mr. Abdon. Mr. Abdon said that the community engagements, especially the indigenous people, it should be recognized more, that the diversity is our wellness. And also next we have expert speech from Dr. Sanjuan, who also fight for or defending for Filipino language in several areas, especially because the Philippines governments remove some subjects from their curriculums. And then next, we have a beautiful Dr. Patu, who also share with us about Doi Sitan Eco Museum, how the community could actually engage to promote their culture in that. And also, last but not least, we also have Mr. Prihandono to tell us about how we counter any kind of family terrorism strategy. Okay, thank you. But before I close these sessions, actually, I would like to thank again to the speakers and for their informative and interesting presentations, and also to all of the participants for their active participations. Before actually end the sessions, let's have a photo session first. Please turn on your camera. Okay, for participant on Zoom, please turn on your camera, terutama mahasiswa-mahasiswa UPN ya. Dinyalakan kameranya. yang tadi tiduran sekarang bangun, dibuka kameranya. And also I invite everyone who is joining us directly on hotel to come forward to take a picture together. Please, everyone. The committee please help to situate them. Okay. Committee also, please come forward. Everyone, come forward. We really need a time to take a picture. Come forward, everyone. Okay, let me come forward first. Again, I remind to turn on your camera. Let the committee, okay, come forward, everyone. What are you waiting for? Come forward, everyone. Yep, monggo Bapak. Yo. Maybe the lecturer in front of the participant first. Bu Elina, monggo Pak Nur juga. Monggo di depan. Okay, everyone who is on the Zoom already turn on their camera. Okay. Oh, okay, please, everyone on the Zoom already open their camera, show us your face. Let the committee count, or let me count.
Siap? Yang ambil gambar siap? Oke. Ya, yang ambil gambar nanti nyusul gantian sama Renan fotonya ya. 1, 2, 3. Lagi. 1, 2, and 3. Sudah? Sekali lagi main kerosong. Nah. Bela negara. Ya, tangan kanannya dikepalkan, ditaruh. Ya, ini. Ya. 1. Siap. 1, 2, 3. Sudah? Oke. Thank you very much for our participant.
Okay, thank you so much everyone who is joining us today in Surabaya. This is our first hybrid seminar, International Conference of IROFONIC 2022. Please give applause again for the speakers and for you all. Thank you so much. I should remind everyone to keep updated, and please be sure to join again for the next year's IROFONIC 2023. Enjoy the rest of IROFONIC 2022. Massive thank you and over to you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much. Terima kasih untuk audiens baik itu yang datang secara offline maupun yang online melalui Zoom. Pertama-tama saya ingin mengingatkan bahwa setelah ini sorry. So please make sure that everyone who are attended this conference offline or online, please keep join us in the next session, which is panel session in 1 o'clock. So in 1 o'clock, you can come to the Zoom, and then you can choose whether what topics you are interested in. So you can choose what panel you want to join, and please choose one of them. So jadi nanti semua yang hadir di Zoom, teman-teman nanti silakan memilih satu panel yang dikehendaki, dan saya harap bisa berpartisipasi dalam diskusi di panel tersebut setelah mendengarkan paper presenter yang akan disampaikan. Thank you. Untuk peserta yang offline di sini, dimohon untuk bisa membawa semua barangnya dulu keluar dari ruangan, karena ini akan disetting up terlebih dahulu untuk ruangan panelnya. Nanti untuk makan siang silakan sudah tersedia di ruang restoran. Sorry. Yes. So so I will give back the microphone to the master of ceremony, please.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we learned so much, and we have so much new knowledge and inspiration from our distinguished keynote speaker, Mr. Abdona Baban, and expert speakers, Dr. David Michael Sanjuan, Dr. Pato, and Assistant Professor Prihandono Wibowo. Last but not least, thank you so much for all of the participants, online or offline, for the delightful yet lively discussion. So please keep in mind that our agenda isn't over yet, because there are several panels to discuss about various topics. And before the next agenda, you may take a break and join back 1 hour after this. Thank you so much for your kind attention, and looking forward to see you in the next session. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.